Interiors. For the latest trends in carpets, vinyls and wood flooring, Des Kelly Interiors, where quality flooring costs less.
A mix of sunshine and heavy showers this evening with highs of 13 to 16 degrees. Now you're up to date on News Talk.
Off the ball. This is News Talk.
You're very welcome back to Saturday's Off the Ball. 53106 is the text number if you want to get in touch with us this afternoon. You can tweet us as well at Off the Ball, and a very warm welcome as well to everybody who's watching us now on YouTube and on Facebook. We're going to have Stephen Kelly on the line very shortly, but Dan McDonnell and Johnny Ward have joined us. You're very welcome, lads.
Hi, Eoin.
You were in Copenhagen this morning, Dan. Does it feel like the longest day of all time?
It's a long enough day. I'd say there's some people probably having a longer day. I was sort of walking to a train station at 6 a.m. this morning, Copenhagen time. So yeah, maybe 6:30 morning Copenhagen time, 5:30 Irish time. 2 forlorn Irish fans in jerseys, sort of wandering across the street in no particular direction at that time. Unclear if they were going to get the early flight or indeed they were just returning home or starting off for their day going somewhere else. So,
they weren't journalists, were they?
Has anyone seen Nathan actually? I should mention it. Oh, yeah. I left them last night.
It's great waking up with the hangover though, and at least knowing that like Ireland got a good result rather than like a bad 1-0 defeat.
Yeah, these people definitely. I think they were still at the going to bed stage of
their hangovers a little bit later.
They're actually waking up around now. Maybe hopefully they're listening. But yeah, no, long enough all day. Sort of actually, I think a lot. Obviously, clearly, it was all the more sensible types who got the early flight, because generally, like the day after an Ireland game, the flight home can sometimes be a challenging experience. The seat belt sign goes off and there's around like 30 people straight off to go to the jacks. There was none of this today at all. It was very, very. But there was a couple of lunchtime flights home now, which I'd say were slightly more boisterous.
Right, I see. Was the sense last night that it was kind of a stadium after Ireland had won a game? I actually thought last night after Denmark scored, I was like, if you're a Danish fan right now, that place looks like it's absolutely rocking.
The atmosphere was brilliant, actually. Yeah, it was a great atmosphere for sometimes the junior internationals can be a real drag, but it felt like a proper game last night. There was a real energy around it, and just like the Danes, in fairness, like just the atmosphere they created, even just the flags they left on every seat and stuff, and that stadium is actually compact enough. Like it's sort of steep, rather than sort of a sprawling stadium. So they actually create a bit of a racket in it, and. So I think from the Irish fans' perspective, definitely the mood of full time was pretty cheery. The replay of the goal was shown on the big screen, and they were sort of acclaiming it as though they were seeing it for the first time and stuff. So there's definitely a good buzz around it. I said, just I don't know, for all that there was an element of fatigue about the Denmark-Ireland thing, maybe building up to it. Once the match kicked off, it's sort of what we were talking about maybe over the last couple of weeks here. It's like, this is a big game, and there was a sort of realisation that this really mattered. And I think probably from the Irish perspective, it was probably the most enjoyable result that they've had against Denmark, because it really probably it hurt them, that result. None of the 0-0 draws didn't bother Denmark before. Maybe the first leg of the playoff there was a bit of false hope, but this one Denmark have a while to stew on this one now. I mean, they've actually, they've got a small bit of catch up to do in the group, although it's all a bit misleading because they haven't played Gibraltar yet, and they're going to have played them twice by Monday. But there was that sense afterwards that they've left themselves with a bit of work to do now, and I think probably some audio and various bits and bobs from Irish players that I think there was that bit of spice there that they were pretty happy to do it the way that they did. They sort of they sucker punched them a small bit.
Yeah, for sure. I should say that on today's show we're giving you the chance to win a pair of tickets to Republic of Ireland's Group D clash with Gibraltar at the Aviva Stadium on Monday evening. For your chance to win, just answer this question: which English Premier League club did Shane Duffy first join as part of their youth academy? Text your name and answer to 53106. And we'll announce the winner before the end of the show. Neil Treacy, what is going on?
Well, we're going to start with that man, Shane Duffy. He says the Republic of Ireland, they can't afford to sit back and be happy with their work after tomorrow's 1-1 draw against Denmark, or yesterday's 1-1 draw against Denmark. Mick McCarthy's side made it 7 points.
Get to your local bookies
this
right now.
This is a bloody long day. This is one of the longest days we've ever had.
The opportunity we've all been waiting for.
We're just going to ride this wave for a couple of days.
Get about the All Sports Almanac.
Anyway, Mick McCarthy's side made it 7 points from a possible 9 with last night's hard-earned draw against the Danes. Shane Duffy's third international goal saved a point 5 minutes from time. He powered a header past Kasper Schmeichel, cancelling out Pierre-Emile Højbjerg's header on 76 minutes, which had given Denmark the lead. And afterwards, Shane Duffy spoke to Nathan Murphy.
Well, Shane, can you describe how that felt when the ball hit the back of the net?
Yeah, it was a great feeling in front of the fans. Yeah, brilliant. Obviously, it's always a great feeling they score for your country, and especially in front of them fans. Yeah,
It's almost an expectation now when Ireland get a set piece, because nearly scored a sort of overhead kick, I think, in the first half, and every time you go up now, I think there's an expectation that you can do some damage. Do you feel like that as well?
yeah. If the ball's right. Nah, listen. I always feel like I can get my head on the end of it, and I actually thought I should have done a bit better with the first chance, and yeah, I was just hoping I could get another one, and it was the perfect ball and probably the perfect header.
What were you thinking when they got the goal, having sort of held out for so long, and it was such a strong defensive performance? Was there a worry that actually, for all you'd done, that the game was gone?
Not really. No, I thought there was chances there to get at them, and obviously they sort of sat back then, and that we probably started playing a bit better then, and we were just hoping that there was a chance and probably could have won it in the end there, but yeah, it was just like keep going, come on, and there's real leaders out there who just didn't drop their heads, and everyone kept going, and then was one great free kick and a good header. So yeah.
Mick McCarthy said before the game he'd be thrilled with a point. Are you thrilled in the dressing room with a point after that game?
We wanted to win the game. That was the main thing, and that was what was said in there between us. We wanted to come here and win it, and that we tried to, and they're a very good team, honestly they are, and it was a difficult night actually, and they had a lot of number 10s floating everywhere, and Eriksen was getting it, and I thought we'd done enough to keep them in, but yeah, feels like a good point now actually. Feels like a different point probably. We actually went for it a bit, and maybe hopefully the fans think that it was a good point.
Yeah, I think they did. You could sense that from the atmosphere after the game. There was a lot of talk over the last couple of months about approaching these away games differently, about being more aggressive. Was that the focus over the last couple of weeks, and everything you worked on, were you able to replicate that out on the pitch?
It's been like that since day one. I think he's come in and just said this is the way we're going to go, and that's his way, and the lads have been in there. It's still early days, and it's twice now that we get to play the same team, which is rare in international, so hopefully everyone stays fit, and got it for Judgy. I think he came on and changed the game, and he's just got no luck at all, and hopefully we can keep building on it. I know Monday can be a little banana slipper, and we've just got to have the same mentality going into it, get a good start, and that'll be 10 points on the board, so that'll be a great start.
Finally, they had a lot to say before the game about Ireland's style of play. It was brought up, I think, by Mick McCarthy, saying he hoped it would be a motivating factor. Were you a bit surprised by other professionals coming out making comments about an opposition style of play like that? Did you feel a bit disrespected?
I don't know. Everyone's got their opinions on it. I don't really look into it. I think words get said before games, and sometimes we say some words which might upset. But I say when we cross that line, everyone's got respect for each other. We know it's a tough job out there, and maybe that was their tactic. They sort of get at us, but let's say we used it as motivation out there and try to prove a point. And I think some said you can change management, but you can't change the team. But I think it was a different team out there.
Yeah, we'll come back to that in kind of more depth in a while, but just to touch on it briefly, like Seamus Coleman mentioned that line as well. That is clearly the quote that got to this Irish team, that you can change the manager, but you can't change the players, which in hindsight, I guess, it was probably a thing that if you're going to poke a bear, that would poke the bear.
Yeah, and in the Jorgensen said it, Sanka didn't even play. He was dropped.
They were delighted with him.
That's why Seamus Coleman ran over towards the bench when he had that dispute with the player, hoping to come on, where's that lad from Huddersfield, get involved.
But like all their comments were pretty much very valid in terms of like how bad we were in the last campaign, but that particular comment, you just don't say that. I mean, there's nothing to be gained.
Well, Thomas Delaney did have the comment about opening
the can of beans
with your bare hands. I mean, like I said, put a lot of thought into it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, so
but he was right.
But I mean, before, and in fairness, Shane Duffy did allude to it there. And wasn't it before the second leg of the playoff that David Myler said something about Irish players caring more than any other country or something? We certainly said something that they might have antagonised the Danes a small bit by suggesting that they were more and maybe indifferent than the Irish team might be. So like sometimes you stay. I can imagine players, they get stuff, cameras thrust in their face, microphones thrust in their face, and they might say stuff in the heat of the moment. But the Danes, I think certainly this was more sort of sustained level of sneery. No, it was vitriol. It was more sneery. It was more sort of like sort of just condemning these sort of Irish, these Neanderthal figures, and of course Coleman in particular, as I said, I think
brought up in a diet of Gaelic games, took to soccer later in life, and played like Gaelic footballers.
Well, I don't know. Coleman's just angry,
I think it probably just means that the press conferences before the return game in Dublin are going to be so mind-numbingly boring. Nothing is going to be said at them.
Well, yeah, it depends. There's a lot of water to go under the bridge before then. That is the last game in the group as well. So, we are going to be seeing these lads again in a probably very likely to be a pressurised setting. Just the way that the group is panning out. If the games between the sides all keep being draws, between like the rival sides, then it's pretty natural it's going to end up going down to the wire.
Yeah,
the way things are faced, and it's Denmark coming to Dublin again, the last game in the group, and I don't know. The Danes are so. See, the thing is, they do so many press conferences as well. This is the thing. Like they do, all week. Like the access that they give is incredible. It's like 5 or 6 players up per day. The manager, they all stop in the mix zone afterwards. They do Eriksen came along last night. I wasn't in the mix zone, but
what about his interview with Nathan?
I stopped 5 or 6 times.
We'll get to that later.
He might have walked out in all the interviews when they asked him, but he still stopped.
Yeah.
Like generally, when the player is in that sort of scenario, they'll not stop to avoid that situation. But Eriksen's like, no, I will politely answer all questions to do with the match. I will oblige with that. And the Danes are all like that. They're all unbelievably sort of polite and friendly, and they'll stop and they'll talk about anything. So it's natural over time. It's just they're probably more themselves. They're just more honest. They're just going, actually, this is what we feel. Actually, it's more discursive. It's like, have you ever actually tried to open a can of beans with your into bare hands? It's a bit like that. It's more of a discussion rather than an interview. Sure. So they seem to. That's where a lot of these sort of fireside chats seem to lean to more salacious headlines that causes a few problems.
It is also the first time he's walking out of a match against Ireland properly feeling fully deflated, because that will feel like a defeat to them last night. If I'm Christian Eriksen, there's no way, with all due respect to Nathan Murphy, I'm stopping for Nathan Murphy.
Yeah, it's like, I don't reckon, it's not as if he's it's not like Seamus Coleman sees Nathan Murphy. It's like, well, I might as well go for interview 200 of the year. Yeah, it's that lad who's always there. So it's that Irish lad who lives in Goodison Park.
I have to admire Nathan to having the balls to ask him at the same time, and he probably felt a little bit small when he walked away. As a journalist, that's not a particularly nice experience, but he then had, the bravery to put it up on Twitter and show the world that Eriksen just walked away.
To be fair, he did it to everyone. There was a guy there from the Mail, the English Daily Mail, who was there, got the same thing, but as I said, Eriksen, the minute he stops, there's an element, he's actually stopping. This is incredible. Able to ask this question, but I think he cut all those interviews short. It wasn't just Nathan that got that treatment. I think everyone.
I'm just glad Nathan didn't ask him about the Champions League final. Do a bit of gloating.
Yeah. No, he didn't. I wonder anyone else really go there with it.
Nathan's too big for that.
Yeah, for anybody who wasn't with us at the top of the show, let's just play this Christian Eriksen interview once again.
Christian, was a draw a fair result?
No, I think it should have been a win for us. We had the chances to do it, but we weren't sharp enough and to take it really.
It was a very different game from the 2 previous games, I think, between Denmark and Ireland. Were you surprised in any way by how Ireland approached the game tonight?
No, I think we saw that from the other games. They played in qualification. They played a bit more offensively, a bit more pressing, and a bit more forward, which made the game a bit more open. It's also a bit of our sake, but in the end we didn't take the chances, and then it's of course it's disappointing to get a goal against you in the last 6 minutes.
Quite a few of the Irish players seemed frustrated before the match about some of the comments from the Danish players criticising their style of play. Have you any thoughts on that?
No, I think they know. I think we know. They changed that a bit compared to what it was before. Like I said, they played a bit more offensively. They created a bit more chances. And every country play their own football. It's different from every country. Someone gets results like this. Ireland get results like that. We try to do it another way. And it's always different. But it's nothing against Ireland how they play or not. It's just really how they approach the game.
It's obviously a busy end to a very hectic season. Are you still in touch with the club? Is the transfer situation ongoing all the time?
I said about that.
For our radio listeners, it was just a polite shake of the head and turned on his heel and walked away. Fair play for asking the question, though.
Yeah,
he
was
did it
fine.
to everybody.
Yeah, he was fine. It wasn't an aggressive.
No, not at all. Not at all.
I think we can safely say he's leaving Spurs.
Yes, I think his body language definitely says something is up.
He was on international duty when he had one of these wonderful Danish relaxed chats where they just say exactly what they feel, and this is what's happened. And maybe he might have been under some instruction to just tone it down a small bit now, after the game.
Yeah.
No doubt he'll pop up again. Probably be doing a press conference. Actually, Denmark are playing Georgia on Monday, so he'll probably be doing a press conference today, or tomorrow.
And tomorrow.
So probably both days, and he'll do everyone after the game on Monday. So, watch this face. Maybe just didn't want to do it in between two legs of a double header.
Yeah. So I'm getting the sense here that Denmark are right up at the top of your list of the most accommodating media people in the world.
Yeah, well, some other people are a bit obsessed with it.
Used to them by
some
now.
other people are a bit obsessed with this. A couple of other colleagues who are just get really on edge about bad media access and just they can't stop raving about the Danes, how fantastic they are. But it is a theme with a lot of the Scandinavian teams in particular that they seem really relaxed about going to the hotel and talking to the players, stopping anyone in the lobby. And there will be people who would nostalgically talk about that's the way it used to be with the Irish team, which I've never necessarily experienced that. I think if you got too close to the hotel, you'd be afraid there'd be a taser gun would come out and take you as you went to talk to a player in the lobby, and said hello maybe.
I'd imagine relatively this is a good Irish team and management.
They are. No, I think they are fairly relaxed. But I think we've more so leaned to following the English model of stuff of doing stuff. But no one really cares about these access issues, But it is striking how open they are. Maybe just around their own sort of media from home. But isn't it a common thing though around international break that some players go home to their homeland and these stories come back. Every time Suarez went off, or Suarez would be doing stuff with Uruguayan radio or whatever it might be, and he'd be saying nothing about his future in any context in England, and then you look at Suarez in Uruguay has basically just given everything, And a lot of some of the Belgian lads as well, a lot of in Hazard and some of the stuff as well, they obviously just feel more comfortable to let it out there at home.
It's a great observation actually. The international breaks kind of throw up these nuggets, especially in the midst of a transfer saga. Neil, there is tons going on.
Yeah, and we're going to start with the Women's World Cup. In Group A, former winners Norway are in action later tonight at 8 o'clock. They're taking on Nigeria, while in Group B, the opening game of the day is just past the hour mark. Still scoreless, though, between Germany and China in Rennes, while the second game in Group B starts at 5. Spain and South Africa meeting in Le Havre. Here at home, Dundalk can consolidate top spot tonight. They're away to Finn Harps at 8 o'clock, while second place Shamrock Rovers will hope to keep pace with the leaders. They host Derry City at 7, while it's 5th against 6th. St. Pat's travelling to Sligo Rovers at 7:45. On to Gaelic games now, and Donegal continue the defence of their Ulster Senior Football Championship this evening. They take on last year's beaten All-Ireland finalist Tyrone at Kingspan Breffni Park, where there's a 5 o'clock throw-in. The last time they met in the championship was in the Super 8s last year. Tyrone were 7-point winners on that occasion. Now, London are the first side eliminated from the 2019 All-Ireland Senior Football Championship. They've been beaten by Offaly in Tullamore on a scoreline of 121 to 111. Rory McNamee's late goal making sure of the win for the faithful county, while there is one other game into the probably about 23 minutes played there so far at Park Sean McDermott in Carrick and Shannon. It's Leitrim 3 points, Wicklow 3 points. At 4:45, Wexford and Derry meet at Innovate Wexford Park, while it's Louth against Antrim at the Gaelic Grounds in Drogheda at 7 o'clock. Elsewhere this afternoon, in hurling, Waterford will have the final game of their 2019 Munster Hurling Championship campaign. Pádraig Fanning's side lost 3 in a row so far, taking on Cork at Páirc Uí Chaoimh and hoping to sign off the year with a win. Meanwhile, for Cork, Alan Cadigan Alan Cadigan is replaced by Conor Lehane in the team. Lehane making his first championship start for the Rebels since 2017. That's at 7 o'clock. Meanwhile, in the Leinster Senior Hurling Championship, Wexford will hope for their first win after 2 draws so far. They're taking on Carlow at Innovate Wexford Park. In the Joe McDonagh Cup, Laois can seal a place in the final this afternoon if they get the better of Kerry. And at the moment in that game, it is Laois 2-6. Kerry 1-6. That game threw in at 3 o'clock, while the 2 o'clock start was between Westmeath and Antrim. Westmeath are 26 points to 18 in front. There's also the 2 Christy Ring Cup semi-finals this afternoon. An absolute cracker at the Athletic Grounds. Meath 2:22, Derry 2:17 at the moment. That game has around 10 minutes left to play, while it was a 3 o'clock start in Inniskeen, where Down and Roscommon are level. 1 goal and a point for Down, 4 points for Roscommon. Elsewhere, Dominic Thiem is going to take on Rafael Nadal in tomorrow's men's French Open final. Thiem finally finished off his 5-set semi-final against Novak Djokovic today, winning the final set 7-5. He'll play Nadal, who beat Roger Federer yesterday, and the women's final is just about to get underway on the Philippe Chartier court. 17-year-old Marketa Vondrousova of the Czech Republic is taking on Austria's Ashley Barty. In rugby, just to keep you up to date as well, Ireland well into their first half now against Australia at the Under-20 World Rugby Cup in Argentina. 10-0 to Australia though, Sione Tui with their try. There's also a Louth native, Michael McDonald, at scrum half for Australia. Former Dundalk RFC man. He left to move over there when he was 13 years old.
Right.
On the Australia Under-20 side now at the moment.
Geez, that's some turnaround, isn't it?
Absolutely, yeah. And finally, just keep you up to date as well, end of the first quarter in the Irish women's hockey team, their World Cup qualifier against Malaysia at Banbridge. End of the first quarter, Ireland 1-0 up through Beth Barr.
All right, good stuff, Neil. Thanks for that. We're going to get some more reaction now from the Danish camp because Nathan was also chatting to Thomas Delaney.
Thomas, I don't think anyone summed up Irish football better over the last couple of years than you when you made the comment about being trying to open a tin of baked beans with their bare hands. Was tonight different?
Yeah, and that thing was meant negative. You know, I have greatest respect for people that exploit their strengths. You know, I'm a simple player as well, yeah, I think they've evolved a little bit, and today was difficult. You know, Ireland is in the last couple of years some of the hardest games I've played, and that's that is something to consider when even we had that 5-1 game, and today in the end I think we did well. We had a decent game, second half at least, and then still ending up with a 1-1, you know, that tells a lot about the game and Ireland as well.
Was the draw a fair result in the end?
Honestly, that doesn't matter. I think you could say it wasn't, but I don't think anybody cares about that. We have a feeling that we could have done better. You know, we could have been sharper. We did well. We found the rooms that we've prepared for and stuff like that, and then you just, you know, sometimes you have a player like Duffy with a big body and a great ability to both jump and head, and then it's very difficult to defend.
They've generally been very, very tight games. Tonight was actually probably the most entertaining of the three in Copenhagen, in Denmark so far. What was your overall sense on the change in Ireland then? Is it just they were more aggressive, more attacking?
Yeah, I think they are sharp in the counterattack. You know, we had a couple of situations where they got dangerous. When we tend to relax a little bit too much with the ball and play a little bit slow, they are sharp and yet they still have that passion and tactical knowledge that you would expect from the Irish people.
With the two draws now, you can't really afford that relaxed style of play too much more in this group, particularly having to go to Dublin and having a home game to come against Switzerland and the trip to Georgia as well.
Yeah, we are in a unfortunately we are in a difficult position. We went for the three points today. We did everything in our power to get those, and we needed them. And of course the table lies a little bit. We are one game down. But it's not the same situation as last year, last quali, but kind of. We are behind and need to eat our way back, and we'll do that for sure. We have no problem by saying that or lack of confidence.
Do you just like doing interviews? It's about an hour and a half after the match. I think you've done 20 interviews. Most players would be long gone home by now. You're very generous with your time.
Yeah, it's part of the job. I would rather go home sleep, but you know, it's part of the job.
Go home sleep. Thank you, Thomas. Thank you, well done.
Great stuff there from Thomas Delaney speaking to Nathan after the game last night. Kind of accepting that his comments before were kind of bang on the money and kind of stands by them.
Yeah, well, 4 things he said there. He used the word passion, tactical knowledge, exploiting our strength, and simple, right? So I'd like to think at this stage that we are come to the end of this idea of Ireland as a team. And
I'd like to keep tactical knowledge, please.
Obviously, tactical knowledge.
That's an important
tactical knowledge
thing.
is fine, but it's kind of like saying one of our strengths is tactical knowledge, which is like, well, that's
that's a good tactical.
It's grand.
No,
okay.
Sorry, tactical knowledge is the great Spain teams have good tactical knowledge.
Let me just finish my point.
Why are you taking that as a thing? Tactical knowledge is a good thing, John.
Simple, right? So basically, this is a simple Irish team. If you go back to the days of Jack Charlton when we played awful football, and I know Stephen Kenny, who's going to be the manager next year, has spoken about how he hated watching Ireland in those days, and he didn't go along with the crest of a wave that was in this country. I think with the the way football is being played at underage level in Ireland now, the way our underage teams are playing at a national level, right up to the under-21s who are playing in Toulon at the moment, I would like to think that 5-10 years from now, this notion of Ireland being unable to play anything but agricultural football, simple, passionate, aggressive, physical football will be gone, and we'll be able to play just as well as somebody from Croatia or somebody from Uruguay or somebody from some of the great football nations of the world, because just because we're Irish does not mean we're not technically good, and it doesn't inhibit us because we're Irish. And I would like to think that interviews like that will soon become a thing of the past.
We're always going to be aggressive, though. You talk about the underage teams playing up to 21s. I don't know how many games you've seen of our teams at like 17s, 19s, 20. Like the 21s now under Kenny is it's slightly different. But I mean, like Tom Mohan's teams, Colin O'Brien's teams, like they're not playing total football. There's a mix and a match. There's an ability to have. I know I'm just spoofing a bit about the tactical knowledge, like joking, but there is an element of that. There is an element of like the 17s team that was hailed last year when they were robbed by the penalty shootout scenario against Holland, who won the tournament. Like in that game, they played some good football at times. At times they were under a bit of pressure. They were a bit more direct or whatever. Like as much as like I think there's a balance to be found here. That of course we want our teams to play more football and to be more attractive to watch. And we don't like to be called, like spoken about as like sort of a caveman team, but I think to expect some kind of transformation to be compared to a Croatia or something like that, it's not realistic.
It's absolutely realistic.
No, it's not.
It's absolutely realistic.
I actually don't think
players are coached properly from a young age, it's absolutely realistic.
I don't think you want to lose all of the attributes. Like I know that you want to be loved as an attractive football nation and a good team to watch, but actually there are aspects of like Irish aggression and physicality that other teams want, that other teams crave, and there would be an argument that and like, I remember Graham Barrett wrote a great piece about this maybe 2 years ago as well, that speaking about like the changes at underage level, that you need to be very careful that you still maintain an Irish identity within whatever changes that you make. Like people talk about, well, why don't we should still have people like Brian Kerr involved in Irish football. I mean, Brian Kerr wasn't someone who was didn't have teams that had those attributes, to have those skills. So I think you would just like. You're obviously repeatedly making this point, but I'm not sure what end game you're expecting and whether that end game is realistic, and actually whether that end game would necessarily suit Ireland to a degree as well.
Why would it not suit us to be able to be coaching players from 3-4 years of age to just play one-touch football and to play football the proper way that will make people want to watch this Ireland team? There's nothing to inhibit us at all if we're coached properly. I believe, like I was speaking to Dundalk's Stephen O'Donnell recently, and he was on about Pat's Shell's under-15 game, couldn't get over the standard. And if you talk to, like, Belvedere went over to Liverpool under-14s there recently, Paul Corrie is involved with them, beat Liverpool, probably played some lovely football as well. Every time I watch underage games now, I'm really taken by the players wanting to keep the ball on the ground, and that's all coming from coaching. It's all about coaching. There's nothing that inhibits us. Why can't we play like Croatia? There's nothing to stop us if we have the ability. And I do believe, even watching the under-21s, granted it's at a level that's, it's not top class. The under-21 scored against China the other day after 33 seconds. China hadn't touched the ball at that stage.
No, it was great. There was actually a long diagonal ball.
Yeah, from Masterson.
Led to the goal. Like, I'm just saying that, like, there's a mix and match, and Irish teams were always going to do that.
Yeah.
I'm just like,
I'm not criticising Mick McCarthy or this team, because I'm not sure they're capable of playing much better than they did last night anyway. But I think in the future, and in fairness to Stephen Kenny, he will make this point as well. Just because we're Irish, there's no way we have to just accept that we'll always be a long ball team or we'll always be physical, and our best attributes will be stuff like passion and never giving up and stuff like that, because what Denmark have seen from Ireland would put anyone off football over the last few years. Nobody wants to see the performances that Martin O'Neill's teams were producing, and that performance in Wales that got us over the line in Cardiff was an absolute cancer on the game, the way we played that night. It was horrible football to watch, and there was nothing to be celebrated.
Stephen Kelly is with us on the line. Good afternoon to you, Stephen.
How's it going? You well?
Not too bad. What do you make of that? Do we think...
Enjoying the debate. From my point of view, I find it's hard because you can't lose we don't want to lose our identity, and we don't. The strengths that we have as a country and as a nation are extremely strong strengths. But if you can add to that, if you can bring on the sense of, like, if you can coach the young players to develop their talent and pass, and combine those two together, then you've got something that's extremely, that's only going to benefit us. Like, I don't think we can completely go away from what we've done for such a long time and what endears people to us and what makes us what we are and who we are as a nation. But to be able to keep the ball, pass the ball in the right areas, I don't want to do what England did the other day and be giving goals away because they're taking stupid chances on the edge of their box. I don't think that's going to help us. But being able to keep the ball for sustained time when we're under pressure, relieving pressure because we've got the ball, don't constantly be under the caution defending, which is great that we can do that and we're capable of doing that. But if you can add that string to our bow that we're capable of keeping the ball, like, it's a happy medium to get between the two of them. And hopefully that the way things are being coached now and from the underage football, that's gradually going to come true, and we'll start to see a change. And there's been glimpses of it since McCarthy's taken over. To be honest, the Georgia game, we passed and we tried to play out, and he set them up in a system where they knew that they were trying to get on the ball and play. It wasn't all long. They were trying to play it through midfield and start things off from the back. We weren't splitting and trying anything silly, but it was definitely an improvement, and there was a bit more of a blueprint on how to do it. And the more that's taught into young players, then we can develop and hopefully be a nation that can keep the ball. But I wouldn't want us to lose the other side of it, because if you combine those two together, we'd be in a very strong position.
So you're saying the good old-fashioned Irish traits of grit and aggression or heart or whatever it may be can be married with something that is a little bit more modernised, something that is way more effective in the modern game?
Totally. Why can't you put the two together? Like, for instance, Guardiola, right? Just the best man, arguably the best manager in the world, and has a team playing some of the best football in the world. Obviously, they're not going to be as aggressive as an Irish team in a sense, but their pressing is so aggressive. Their determination to get the ball back is so aggressive. The way they, and by no means, I'm not saying that we can be like a Man City. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying those principles of how he wants his players to be. He wants them to be aggressive. If he wants to be on the front foot, they have a player in the centre midfield that goes and gets the ball back and puts his foot in and makes horrible tackles and does things that they need so that the rest of the players can go. And again, the talent that they have is beyond compared to what we have and what we're probably going to ever have in the future coming. But the principles of what they do and how they do it, we already have the foundations of wanting to run ourselves into the ground, never say die, pressing. Those are things that are fundamentals that are ingrained into Irish players, and it's something that's in us. So if you can build on that and then give them the confidence and the technical ability to keep the ball, to do it in the right areas, and then give them the confidence to go out and do it as well, it'd be a great combination to have.
How do you rank this team in terms of actually being able to execute at a high technical level at the moment? Because I definitely agree with the point that coaching at underage level can lead to a greater outcome on that front. But given the current batch of players that we have, how well equipped are we to play a nicer on the eye brand of football?
I think the players in this, if you were to look at those players individually and how they play at their clubs, you would say they're probably better than we give them credit. Because you watch how they play at their clubs and how their clubs play, they wouldn't play the way we play as a country. So when you bring them all together, why do they play slightly different? Like, they would want to get on the ball, they try and pass, they play different formations. Like, look at Sheffield United, for instance. I've watched them a couple of times this season, and they play a brand of football, to be honest, I've not really seen before. They have three at the back, the two centre-backs, the two wide centre-backs overlap their full-backs at times, bomb forward, and it's if they do that in the Premiership next year, I'd be flabbergasted because of how they played. They dominated the league and they did extremely well. And you have people like Edna Stevens and David McGoldrick that play in that team and do well for them, and Egan. So they've adapted to that system, and it's a very forward-thinking system that he has them playing, and they pass the ball well. And then they're in the Irish team now, so they're capable of playing that. Matt Doherty, obviously, he's not been playing, and that's another debate that we're going to get on to. He plays in a very, very positive, forward-thinking, passing Wolves team.
It's the funny thing about it is, like, this group is so short. Like, 4 games, 4 teams, you play each other twice, right? And the Gibraltar games essentially don't matter. So you have 6 games really that are of consequence here. So Mick McCarthy, like, you could see with Martin O'Neill, his Martin O'Neill acted as if his sole remit was to get Ireland qualified for a tournament for an organisation that was effectively almost bankrupt at that time. And he played as he saw, with no regard whatsoever for the future of Irish football or how people would perceive Irish football, because the football we produced when the chips were down was an absolute an assault on anyone's football senses. It was horrible. Mick McCarthy's come in with similar pressure to get us to the Euro 2020 tournament, so he has to be pragmatic. And if you're talking about, I would argue that Callum O'Dowd and Doherty are two of our probably five most talented players, and neither is playing. But you can see the reason for that in terms of the team he's played. If the midfield we had last night versus Denmark's midfield, there's absolutely no comparison in terms of quality. No comparison. And in fairness to Mick, that chance that McLean had, where it was a pass from Brady to him on the left-hand side, I never saw that before from the last 10, 15 years of an Irish team. So all of a sudden there were 5, 6 players rushing to get into the box on the break. That just didn't happen under O'Neill. And he married that with an ability to score from set pieces. That was always going to be so important, because we were so bad under O'Neill from set pieces. Apparently in training they barely even did anything on set pieces. And I've been saying for a while, Duffy's going to be key to this team. He's going to be a leader. Set pieces are going to be very important, because we are limited enough. 2 of our 3 goals have been from set pieces. And the quality of the delivery from Judge last night shouldn't be that's technical ability. That was incredibly good. That's just dying to be headed. And we shouldn't lose sight of the qualities that Mick has brought in as well. And in fairness, that fighting spirit, a lot of teams would have caved. The game looked to be up. And not only did we score, we actually went for the winner as well. Yeah. So there's an awful lot to be positive about. And let's be honest, as much as we said Denmark without Eriksen, we can manage them, there's some seriously good players. Delaney was a 20 million transfer. We don't really have players that are going to garner that type of money. We've Glenn Whelan in a holding midfield role at 35, who's just been released by his club and trying to mark Eriksen. So that's where we're at. And all in all, it was a fantastic result, despite the fact that, we were outplayed for much of the game.
Yeah, I think David Kelly in The Independent today had the line that Christian Eriksen wants to join Real Madrid soon. Glenn Whelan joked about joining Real Madrid this week, which kind of sums up your midfield point.
There you are.
We do have to take a quick break. If you've got any questions for the lads, we'd love to hear them. You can text us using the number 53106. It'll cost you 30 cents. You can tweet us as well at Off The Ball, or if you're watching us online, you can simply comment on the stream. Before we go to ads though, just to tell you that ex-Dublin footballer Paddy Christie joined Diarmuid Ling as part of the beautiful Clean Coast campaign currently spreading throughout the country. Join us and register your beach clean today at cleancoasts.org. Here's how they got on.
We know not to throw litter. Well, we don't all do it, but it's happening all around us. Everyone knows not to do it, but they're still doing it because it's convenient to buy a coffee cup instead of carrying your own, Yeah. How, and for myself as well, how to create behavioural change, not how to intellectually understand what changes are needed. That's
you do that naturally without. Because you can do it by hounding them and pressurising them and that sort of thing. But that's a long way from where we are here as well. Pressurising people to doing something they don't want to do.
There's nobody, we'll say from a GA context, who are looking at something like this and they're saying, yeah, but sure, of course, don't litter or dispose of your litter responsibly, or whatever the phrases are. And we all know this, but then we go to a GA pitch and you see after a big game rubbish all over the place, and I just wonder, why do I do it? And can I look at Wexford Park or Nolan Park or Crow Park, can I look at them as places that house our games, and I'm not going to defile that by bringing in plastic that's single use. It has to wash up on some shore somewhere else, and say, right, I'm going to try and maybe not bring it in, maybe I'll bring in something, I don't know, something that's more sustainable in itself, and bring it away with me, instead of just carelessly thinking that it's somebody else's problem.
Yeah. When you see rubbish scattered around the place, automatically, I don't know, maybe it's just me, but it just brings me down a notch. Just feels straight away you're on a downer.
During the week, Clean Coast are encouraging communities to go out and get involved in keeping our waterways and our coastlines litter-free. Litter is harmful to our marine environment, and we all know this, so it's up to each of us to dispose of our litter responsibly. For further information, go to cleancoast.org or liveherelovehere.org. Garda Mahagwif.
Off the Ball on News Talk. News Talk reporter Henry McKean has faced his fair share of challenges down the years.
That's a good even bake, I think you should be jolly proud. How much did you do with it?
Well, I helped, but I have to say my mum did most of it.
And now it's your turn to challenge Henry. We want you to dream up the biggest, the toughest, the trickiest challenges for Henry to take on. And then email them to challengehenry@newstalk.com. It could be getting him to jump out of a plane. Or to perform your favourite song live on stage.
I'm travelling at the speed of light. I want to make a supersonic man out of you.
Whatever it is, email us now. challengehenry@newstalk.com.
Don't stop me, don't stop
Henry,
me.
you can stop now.
Don't stop me.
Productive afternoons with Harvey Norman. Need more you time? Ask about our range of large capacity washing machines with quick wash functions in Harvey Norman today. Now, where's the remote?
The wait is over. A new age in walk-in medical care has arrived in Ireland, where long waiting times in busy waiting rooms are a thing of the past, where patients suffering from minor injuries and illnesses are seen within an hour by the very best medical practitioners delivering quality care in a modern stress-free environment. Express Care walk-in clinics in Cork, Tallaght and Santry are open to everyone and open 365 days a year. For more information, go to expresscare.eu. Express Care by Affidea. Be seen as a priority.
The Ultimate Food Lovers Festival is back. Taste of Dublin returns to the Ivy Gardens from the 13th to the 16th of June, celebrating the revolution of modern Irish food with over 20 restaurants, 30 top chefs, 160 interactive masterclasses, delectable drinks and live entertainment. Taste of Dublin, inspired by Neff. Book now. Tickets from €15 at tasteofdublin.ie. Booking fees apply.
Proudly supported by Newstalk.
There are certain moments against which all others are defined. Make sure you don't let them pass you by. The 192 BMW 3 Series, designed for the time of your life. With the very latest in BMW voice activation technology and our most powerful, efficient engines to date. Test drive the new BMW 3 Series or any of our 192 range at your local BMW retailer or visit discoverbmw.ie.
Whatever's on your list, come in and see how much you can save at Lidl. Check out our 3 for €9 mix and match meats like deluxe Irish Hereford beef burgers, Inishvale Kansas beef sizzle steaks, and Ballymanor lemon and pepper spatchcock chicken. And check out our big brand super savers like My Waddy orange squash, just $1.99, and Muller Corner 6-pack, an amazing 2 for €6. Lidl, more for you.
Stay connected with Air's half-price SIM-only sale. For just $14.99 a month, get 30 gigs of data, free Air Sport Pack, unlimited calls and texts, and all on a 30-day contract. For more, call 1-800-500-300, go in store, or visit air.ie. Air. Let's make possible. Offer available until 30th of June 2019. $14.99 per month for 6 months, $29.99 per month thereafter. AirSport Just mobile app is available on selected mobile plans until 31st of May 2019. For full details, terms and fair usage, see air.ie.
As the dog of the house, I know exactly what my family are thinking. Right now, they're convinced I am upset they're heading off on holidays. Me? Upset? Yeah, right. They have AA travel insurance, so I won't have to worry about them while I'm living it up with the neighbour's French poodle, Fifi. Ooh la la.
Go to the AA.ie and get annual travel insurance from only $16.99. And you're even covered before you go. Who's got clever travel insurance? Value price covers one adult under 52 Europe holding private medical insurance. Price excludes €1.50 handling fee. AA Insurance is tied to interpartner assistance for the purpose of selling travel insurance. AA Ireland Limited Trading as AA Insurance is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
Bruce Betting, one of Ireland's leading bookmakers. With best odds guaranteed on UK and Irish horse racing, Bruce Betting has you covered. And with the Bruce Betting app, we're always giving you more. T's and C's apply. Bruce Betting, in-store, online, and now on your phone. Over 18s, please gamble responsibly. See dunlewy.net.
It's back! The Harvey Norman Big Sale with big savings on home appliances like the Zanussi 8kg washing machine for just €319, saving you €45. Or get the large capacity 9kg Candy washing machine for just €269, saving you €110. So for the biggest savings this summer, shop the Harvey Norman Big Sale in store and online.
Go, Harvey, go!
A visit to Ireland's ancient East provides the perfect breakaway close to home. Leave it all behind with a stay at the Heritage in Laois, with your own kind of perfect getaway, an indulging spa experience at one of Ireland's premier spas, or enjoy some retail therapy at the nearby Kildare village, or take in Waterford and Faithleg, a stunning 18th century 4-star mansion. Experience award-winning Moorish dining and simply relax as Faithleg draws you in. The Heritage and Faithleg. Discover more at fbdhotels.com.
A storage story, brought to you by Nesta.
So why are you putting your home gym equipment into storage?
Well, I had to make room for my boyfriend who's moving in. His name is Jim, and he's got
it's a case of Jim moving in and Jim moving out.
Yeah, should make for more enjoyable workouts, though.
Behave.
Nesta Storage. Make room for life.
Off the ball. This is News Talk.
You're very welcome back to Saturdays Off the Ball. We're with you right through until 6 o'clock this evening. You can tweet us at Off the Ball on Twitter, or you can comment on YouTube as well, or on Facebook if you happen to be watching on those streams. The text number, by the way, then is 53106. Stephen Kelly, just before we get to 4 o'clock news, and after 4 o'clock we'll get into some of the things that Ireland can work on over the next couple of days heading into the Gibraltar match. In terms of the positives from Ireland last night, what was the one thing or the couple of things that really stuck out to you?
Well, the result obviously is a huge positive. Going to Denmark and picking up a point, still unbeaten in the group, it gives us a great platform to go on to in the next games. You would think automatically there's going to be 3 points on Monday, and then it's a big test when we're up against with Georgia, Switzerland and Denmark again. But the result was all that really mattered. But on top of that, we did throw some punches in the game. We didn't just sit back and kind of soak up so much pressure. Like, the Danes did have the majority of the share of play, and they looked like a neater, better team in the midfield. But we did offer some. We didn't look toothless. We had a game plan, and we did create a few opportunities in the game, which was very nice to see. And you could see a definite shape about us and a pattern of how Mick wanted us to play. The players knew their roles. They had been given a set of instructions, and they tried to follow them out. So that was encouraging, because we weren't just going out off the cuff and trying to just win a match. We had a game plan, a way to do it, and Mick said before the game he'd happily take a draw. The aim was to go and get a draw. We didn't play like that the whole time, because we did actually counter-attack well and create a couple of opportunities, and they had the lion's share of chances. But overall, I think it was a positive performance from us, and we got to take credit for it and hopefully build on that, because the confidence we should gain from that going into the games against Switzerland and Georgia away should help us.
How big a change has this been without the ball, lads, in terms of the pressing from Ireland in particular?
Yeah, well, I suppose the Danes spoke about it. That's the thing. Oga Hourihane afterwards and Eriksen, we heard earlier, they did acknowledge that it was a more aggressive performance, and you try and play more in the opposition half, and there are risks that come with that. And we'll probably speak about things to work on. Obviously, Ireland were exposed a couple of times. When the players almost. I think probably Hendrick and Hourihane could probably do a bit better. They can definitely they can play better than they did, and there were times they were a bit ahead of the ball, and then all of a sudden Denmark played through them very quickly, and Ireland, the movement of the Danish players, particularly the wingers, just caused Ireland a couple of difficulties. But I suppose we talk about teams wanting to take risks and wanting to take chances, so we can't complain then if they do, and there's a price to pay for that sometimes when we play against good sides. So
you said in your report today it's a better kind of draw for Ireland, which I think that kind of sums up everything. I think we're feeling a lot happier, even though it's the same amount of points that we've always got when we go to Denmark. The feeling is just a lot better, and it's because of what you just said there.
Yeah, McGoldrick is an interesting option. He's not your typical sort of out and out number 9 who sometimes has played through the middle for Ireland. Sometimes we'd have a target man through there, or even like a Shane Long or someone that you're hoping to stretch them with pace or something like that. McGoldrick is someone who's a bit more technical. He's not your typical maybe guy for that role, but he actually played it very well. And when actually Ireland got players around McGoldrick, his close control, his passing is pretty good, and it actually allows Ireland to keep the ball a bit better in the opposition half, where sometimes, and this is the thing in the last couple of years where you'd be frustrated maybe, Ireland have that 4-5-1 or whatever, but the ball's coming back all the time because it's not staying up there. There was some moments last night that would encourage you. Actually, even early on, the two fullbacks managed to get forward. There was times where Coleman and Stevens actually managed to try and get into situations to overlap where Brady would cut inside and Coleman would try and go outside. So there was a couple of moments where you're thinking, yeah, there's a plan here to try and play a bit more in the opposition half. And even the change to bring in Judge, which I think at the time I'd say would have been a fair few eyebrows raised when Alan Judge was the first sub, but there was clearly a plan in mind for maybe this scenario in a game, that if if Ireland needed to rescue something or not, needed to mix things up, that they would bring Judge in, put him central, rejig things around a small bit, and he was energetic and got Ireland moving the ball a bit, and he played his part. So I think they are the positives that you would take from it.
The press is great, like in theory, but like if you were to do opposition analysis of that Ireland press last night, you would pick a lot of holes in it, particularly the fact that once that line that Dan was talking about, once that line in midfield, if you have a press that involves Glenn Whelan at 35 as well, and he's your proper defensive midfielder, you've Hendrick, who's really not accustomed to that type of a role playing for his club. And then what I found was happening time and time again. This is a Denmark team with plenty of guile in midfield, but the back four were quite deep. So the back four were deep, and particularly, so the two centre backs were like, there was moments where they were basically afraid to approach the ball. They were sitting back so much, and a lot of the defending, Duffy was our best player, but was really last-ditch stuff. But once that press is broken, and once you get past that line, and then you have a very deep back four, there's so much space there. And we were, the second half, if you saw the goal, like Jeff Hendrick was an auxiliary right back by that stage. Coleman had tucked into the middle. We were very, very stretched.
You thought Hendrick was superb. That was your analysis last night.
I thought he worked very, very hard, and especially at the end. I thought, considering we'd very little of the ball, Hendrick should be better than that. I never really.
Was superb.
I was probably a bit of a stretch to call him superb, but Hendrick has never really done it for Ireland for me. But that midfield, like it's fine, it's well and good pressing, but you have to be very, very careful as well. And let's be honest, if it weren't for a ridiculous challenge by Delaney to give that free kick, we probably wouldn't have scored, and we'd be moaning about another 1-0 defeat. But the press is great, and it was great to see that, but we were exposed many times.
Hot take in text form from Martin and Meath. He asks, has Ireland under Mick McCarthy a better back four than England?
Well, that is a serious hot take. I'm not so sure. I mean, then again, having watched England the other night, I mean, there's an opportunistic timing of this question, to be fair.
There is.
I'm not so sure. I'm not sure. Who was the back four for United? Stones, Maguire, Kyle Walker, and who was the other one there?
Left back for England.
I'm trying to think.
See the game.
The left back.
Who was left back?
The left back from Leicester.
Oh, Chilwell, is this?
Oh yeah, Chilwell. He's a good player, to be fair.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like
Stephen as a defender offer that for you.
Yeah. What do you think, Stephen?
Well, I suppose if you put it this way, would any of our back four replace those players for their club? I don't think they would they?
Duffy's a good player,
Duff as a defensive player, as a solid centre back, yes, but is he a top four centre back? I'm not sure. Like, he does extremely well for Brighton. His last ditch tackle, and he puts his head in the ball, and he wears his heart in his sleeve. And if you're as a pure out defender, he does extremely well. And again, he's a great threat in the opposition half. He's exactly what we need. But if you were to say he's a top four club, I don't know whether he's there yet or whether he would ever get to that.
He wouldn't be Southgate's type of player anyway. No.
Yeah, that's the thing, I don't think any of these players would get on the English team, unfortunately.
Yeah. I think this is the definition of getting carried away with a 1-1 draw in Copenhagen.
It wasn't the closest to it.
Like, it wasn't
a few years back.
Who's that?
Seamus would have been the closest to that a few years back, and not now, but Seamus a few years back when he was at his peak,
he was a world class right back.
Would have probably been the closest to pushing it slot for that team. But now, obviously, it's slightly different. He's getting older and he's a bit diminishing, but that's a bit different.
For sure. We want to get into some of the things that Ireland can work on. There's a good few of them, particularly the third quarter of the game last night. We want to talk about Gibraltar, some of the changes that Mick McCarthy can touch on over the next couple of days, and indeed the next couple of months, because Johnny's got a few interesting things to say about the future of Irish football and the transition into the Stephen Kenny era.
I wouldn't overplay it now.
Let's overplay it.
They're definitely going to be interesting.
It's
my basic point.
Interesting is definitely going to be. They're going to come under that heading. Insightful. With an S or with a C, like you can have your view on what they're going to be.
Supposed to be a friend of mine, Dan.
I am.
My basic point is that my basic point will be that this Irish team, very few of these players will be playing for Stephen Kenny.
That is a great teaser. It's going to be so good. We have to take a break.
Get up to the minute news updates at newstalk.com and on the Newstalk app.
Hello, I'm Janet. When my GP diagnosed me with plantar fasciitis, she recommended I visit Foot Solutions for an analysis. The team at Fuss Solutions were great. They listened and explained everything to me. I was fascinated with the technology and what it could tell about my feet. After just a week wearing my new custom arch supports, I was finally living without pain and going back to an active lifestyle. I only wish I'd visited Fuss Solutions sooner.
For active feet without the pain, drop into Foot Solutions or visit footsolutions.ie.
It's back. The Harvey Norman Big Sale with big savings on sofas and dining furniture, like sofa beds from just €149, an incredible 50% off corner sofas, dining tables from a low €140, and up to 50% off dining furniture. So for the biggest savings and easy ways to pay, with up to 36 months interest-free finance terms available, shop the Harvey Norman Big Sale in store and online. Don't miss out.
Terms and conditions apply. See harveynorman.ie/finance.
It's been said an official Ford service is more trouble than it's worth. Let's bust that myth. Our Ford trained technicians are best placed to service your vehicle. They use Ford Video Check, a state-of-the-art technology that sends you a video of any faults found, so you can approve the repairs required online. Starting at €149 for cars and €169 for vans, you get a free €20 Circle K fuel card. Bust the myth. Contact your local Ford dealer or book online at Ford.ie. Ford service. Better performance and greater value. Prices stated are for vehicles aged 5 years plus.
Ever wondered where standards come from? If you're involved in innovation, you probably have. And the simple answer is they're developed by people like you. NSAI is the National Standards Authority of Ireland. When we're developing a new standard or updating an existing one, your expertise is invaluable. So you can help influence the direction of your industry and be among the first to hear about new developments. If you'd like to participate, visit nsai.ie today or call 01 807 3800. That's 01 807 3800.
Bruce Betting, one of Ireland's leading bookmakers. With best odds guaranteed on UK and Irish horse racing, Bruce Betting has you covered. And with the Bruce Betting app, we're always giving you more. T's and C's apply. Bruce Betting, in-store, online, and now on your phone. Over 18s, please gamble responsibly. See dunlewy.net.
Hey Alexia, what's happening at Tato Park this summer?
On Saturday 29th and Sunday 30th of June, Tato Park is hosting FunFest, Ireland's newest and biggest weekend family festival.
Oh, what's on?
Pirate World, circus, street performers, and incredible live music from Hudson Taylor, Nathan Carter, Heather Small from M People, and many more.
I love Heather Small. Alexia, play Moving On Up.
Moving on up, moving on out.
Alexia, please stop singing.
Tickets for FunFest include all attractions at Tato Park. Book now, subject to licence.
Fiona Byrne from 29 Woodstock Green Nace gave us her blessing to say this month she's working nights. Her pedigree pooch, Pebbles, and vintage record collection will be home alone. Pebbles resides in a basket while Bert Bacharach and co live on the sitting room shelf, above the stereo. Night shift? No worries. The Phone Watch sale is now on. Get Phone Watch installed for just €199. Call 1850 500 900 today. Monitoring fees apply. Offer ends this Friday.
At SuperValue, we love meat, and we have great offers this week, like SuperValue Fresh Irish Pork Loin Roast, half price, and great value in our weekly SuperValue 7 offers, like SuperValue Fresh Irish Chicken Breast Fillets, 650 gram, now €5. Because if you want the best quality meat in Ireland, it's got to be SuperValue.
I'm home, love. I've got a surprise for you.
Oh, that's nice.
Look out the window.
Okay.
Ta-da!
What on earth is that?
It's a mobile home. You said you always wanted one.
Mobile phone. I wanted a mobile phone.
Oh, all right. I've sold the house now.
Should have gone to Specsavers for rechargeable hearing aids from €1,000 with PRSI, funded by the Department of Employment Affairs and Social Protection. Ask in store for details.
The Ultimate Food Lovers Festival is back. Taste of Dublin returns to the Ivy Gardens from the 13th to the 16th of June, celebrating the revolution of modern Irish food with over 20 restaurants, 30 top chefs, 160 interactive masterclasses, delectable drinks and live entertainment. Taste of Dublin, inspired by Neff. Book now. Tickets from €15 at tasteofdublin.ie. Booking fees apply.
Proudly supported by News Talk. Across Ireland on 106 to 108 FM and at newstalk.com. This is News Talk.
Good evening, I'm Tina Gates. The potential closure of a British mental health facility that cares for Irish children is being described as deeply worrying. 6 Irish children are currently at St Andrews in Northampton, where concerns have been raised over issues such as juveniles being held in isolation rooms without bedding or chairs. Fianna Fáil spokesperson on mental health, James Brown, says it highlights the pressing need for more resources to treat them here in Ireland.
To see that the Care Commission in the UK raising very real concerns about facilities where Irish children are being sent, and they're only being sent there because we don't have the facilities here in Ireland, is deeply, deeply worrying.
Tensions rising over a threat to Irish vessels fishing in the waters around Rockall in the North Atlantic Ocean. The tiny uninhabited rock has long been at the centre of dispute, but now the Scottish Government has warned it will take action against Irish vessels fishing there from this weekend onwards. The threat's been rejected by the Government here, and Sean O'Donoghue from the Killybegs Fishermen's Organisation says they're depending on the state to legally defend their fishing rights.
We expect the Irish Government that if it happens that any one of the Irish vessels is arrested inside the 12-mile zone for fishing, that we will get the full backing and full support.
And Slane Castle's getting ready to rock with 75,000 fans expected to attend Metallica. Fans have been asked to arrive via public transport, and there's a shuttle bus service in Dublin that departs Western Way every 30 minutes. Chief Superintendent Ferguson Healy says look out for traffic and parking signs if you are driving down.
We are expecting a lot of traffic, so we have a robust traffic plan in place to deal with those issues. And each of the car parks are colour coded to assist people. The one thing I would say is that when you do park in a car park, please remember the colour code of the car park that you left and went to the venue from.
That's it for now. All news updates are on our website. That's newstalk.com.
News Talk weather.
Thanks to Des Kelly Interiors. For the latest trends in carpets, vinyls and wood flooring, Des Kelly Interiors, where quality flooring costs less.
A mix of sunshine and heavy showers this evening with highs of 13 to 16 degrees. Now you're up to date on News Talk.
Off the ball. This is News Talk.
You're very welcome back to Saturday's Off the Ball. Stephen Kelly, Dan McDonnell and Johnny Ward are with us for the next hour, talking football and Ireland's draw in Copenhagen last night. Just to tell you that Ashley Barty has taken the first set in the French Open final 6-1, so a fairly comprehensive one for her there in that one. In the GEA, Offaly beat London earlier on in the first game of the football qualifiers. 121 to 111 was the full-time score in O'Connor Park. Leitrim are currently 10 points to 8 up against Wicklow at Park Sean McDiarmid. We'll have a full roundup in the GEA before we finish up this evening. Just to tell you as well that Off the Ball are heading for some winter sun and top-class golf, and we want you to join us. The Off the Ball crew, along with special guests Kevin Kilban, Kieran Donaghy, Peter Lowry and more, are taking on 2 of the best courses on the planet, Yas Links and the National. First ever Off the Ball Open this November. 5 nights in a 4-star hotel, a Peter Lowry golf clinic, gala dinner and a world famous Off the Ball roadshow this November 17th to 23rd in Abu Dhabi. Sign up now at offtheball.com/open. Right, let's get back to Denmark against Ireland last night. And Stephen, I just wanted to get your take first of all in terms of what you were actually feeling last night when Denmark were getting chance after chance after chance and we really were up against it at that point. Were you thinking, oh God, this is going to break down at some point? Or was there some part of you thinking we were actually going to be able to weather this storm?
When they started, the first couple of chances, I thought, okay, they're going to break us down here. But then as it went on a bit longer, you kind of think, we could get through this without conceding. It could be one of those nights where we're quite lucky and we benefit from them not punishing us. And when they got the goal, I was a little bit sceptical and worried, thinking, if we start pushing now, they could get a second here. So I was a bit worried at that point. But then for us to go up the other end and get a goal within 15 minutes of them scoring, it was brilliant. The fact that we showed a bit more resilience, we showed a bit of character. We didn't just capitulate and concede another goal and lose the match. We showed enough about ourselves to be able to, okay, we need to try and get something back on the board here. We need to get back into this game, and we showed some proper character, which I know is a trait that Johnny's saying we should try and lose, but I don't think.
I'm being completely misrepresented here. Character is a great
thing. Please.
Yeah.
But less character.
Lads, I want you to show a bit less character today. I'm all for character, but I'd like a bit of style as well.
I know.
You should know that, Steve.
No, I do indeed.
Perfect marriage of style and character, he is.
No, I do think that to show, like I said in the past and in other games where we've conceded, we would have kind of felt, done so much to keep us out, and some great saves from Randolph, and you kind of feel like they just broke us, and we would have went on, and they could have conceded, but we didn't. We stayed in it, we stayed resilient, and we went and got another goal, which was extremely positive.
Stephen, like, there was an element to the game last night, and listening to some of the players afterwards, I think Seamus Coleman spoke about, and maybe as an ex-full-back yourself, I mean, it was actually Braithwaite and Poulsen, the two Danish wingers, who kept cutting inside all the time and picking up the passes, like in the number 10 position. And I think Seamus Coleman was saying you're almost a bit torn sometimes. I mean, do you follow them? Or there was clearly maybe some issues there in terms of either communication or something that it wasn't quite working to some degree. I mean, what's your take on that? I assume you've been in situations in games like that where you have that winger who's drifting inside the whole time.
Yeah, when you have a winger that wants to basically pick up a position between yourself and the centre-back, they're trying to occupy both of you, or they're trying to drag one of you out of position so someone else can get forward. And it's very hard, because you can go with them for as long as you can, but then at some point you have to release them. But I discussed this before, actually, off the ball. It's not really up to you to release them. You have to be told by the centre back that they're taking them, because if you're running across the pitch with a winger and then you say take him, and he's been occupied, the centre back's been occupied, or his eyes on the centre forward, he can't just leave his man to take yours. You have to get you're the one that has to be told, okay, I'm taking him now, you can drop back in the position. So it is communication, and then for that to happen, you have to have the wingers dropping back in, but you don't want to end up in a position where you've got like 5 or 6 at the back because we're getting back in and we're trying to. So it's all about communication. The thing that we should have, though, is I know we had the extra man in midfield, and that was to try and occupy Eriksen. But sometimes that extra midfielder can be the one that can step into that position and pick up the little the players in the pockets, and sometimes you don't have to mark them, you just have to occupy that space. I don't even want to bring this up because it's probably open a can of worms, but Declan Rice is very good at occupying that space. For such a young lad, and the games I've watched him, he puts himself in a position where players won't go into it because they know it's been occupied by the opposition team, and when someone looks up to find the pass, they'll see the opposition, so they won't look for it. So it's just about being clever, about knowing that sometimes you don't actually have to mark them, and you just have to occupy space. But as a fullback, it's difficult because you can't just track them all the way across the pitch and into position, because you leave a gaping hole where you've just been, and at some point someone else will occupy that space, and that will cause a danger. So it is difficult. It's something you have to work on, but communication is key.
I think their goal was probably all about exactly what he's talking about there, in that, like, Coleman was obviously taken out of his position completely into the centre. Hendrick went over to act as a kind of a nominal right back, and then that position where you're talking about, that holding midfielder basically preventing the header that came from the goal, it just wasn't there. And with all due respect to Glenn Whelan, Stephen, at this stage of his career, we probably do we have a more dynamic holding midfielder that could kind of offer something more, because it's very hard in Glenn Whelan to do that job at this stage of his life. Like, you don't, when you think of a Spoiler or a Kante or someone like that, you don't think of somebody.
I think he needed a bit of support at times.
Yeah, absolutely. No, absolutely.
I think I think Hendrick and Hourihane could both play better than they did last night. I don't know. I mean, James McCarthy's a name that springs to mind, but unfortunately he hasn't been fit for 2.5 years. I mean, Stephen, you're obviously familiar with James's strengths, I guess. I mean, is he a player fully fit that can bring something there?
Yeah, James could definitely do that position, but from what I've seen of James and what I played with James, I would have thought James would occupy the role, one of the two front players in front of him. Yeah. I'm sure James could adapt now, and he's getting, it's a different part of his career now, James, than when he was when he was younger. But James is like a box-to-box midfielder. He's got the energy levels, and he can link play and drive forward with the ball, and is capable of getting into the box as well. It's kind of a bit of an all-rounder, but you could specify that for him, and I'm sure he's capable of doing it, because he's got the ability, and he's got the knowledgeable sense to sit in there and know what position to pick up. I do think you're right in saying that Conor and Jeff, they do need to take a bit more responsibility in that sense, and I think Conor especially, I think he's been excellent, and it's been a real pleasure to see Mick put him in the team, because his quality on the ball, his dead ball, free kicks, everything has been excellent. And the last 2 games, he's arguably probably our best player. Yesterday the game kind of passed him by a little bit. He wasn't as influential, and he didn't affect the game as much. But when you have a 5 midfield, as much as you want Glenn to be there, sometimes you rotate, sometimes you take another position. So the other two need to know that role, and they need to know what it takes to be in that position, because it's not always rigid, it's not always the same. Sometimes people move, sometimes someone gets tracked out, and you have to be able to adapt. The difficult part of that is the international football. You don't have weeks on end to work with your players and focus them and get them to know their role as well as what you would like. And I'm sure Mick is going to try to drill them as much as he can. But the question with Glenn is, yeah, he is getting on his career. He's had to say, listen, Glenn and I are not similar of age, and I'm retired. So you know that you're at a point where you're looking towards the light at the end of the tunnel. But he has done extremely well, and Mick is going to use him sparingly. He's going to use him in the games where you can tell he's going to use him in the games where he feels he needs to have someone with a bit of knowledge of that position. It's just it's difficult because you do have quality players that do occupy the space well, and someone like Eriksen and Poulsen who come off the shoulder and really and then are good at finding each other in that space. That's what makes it difficult.
Yeah. The thing on that as well, though, on Glenn Whelan, is that the next time we're analysing an Ireland international break would be a few months down the line. That's a long amount of time for somebody who's been released from their club, who's going to be looking for a new club. Who knows where he's going to be? Like the way you're talking about it, Stephen, like it suggests to me that either Ireland need to find that person, the next Declan Rice, to apologise once again for bringing up the name, but to find that person who's in there, because clearly Glenn Whelan would be that type of person in his prime, but I think the evidence suggests that maybe he's going to be further away from his prime again, come Switzerland, certainly come Denmark at home. So what do you do if you don't have that player, that ready-made fix? Is it a tactical shift?
Yeah, well, I think for Ireland, in the games where we're going to be outplayed and teams are going to have the majority of possession, like we are trying to fix them, we are trying to keep the ball better, but when in those games where you need to have a holding midfielder, like I said, Glenn Whelan is the solution for now, and he's done I think he's done really well up to this point. But going forward and for the future, obviously Glenn is not the option, but just because of age it's dictating that he can't do that forever. So at some point you're going to have to try and find a replacement for him, and whether that's been younger players coming through, 21, someone that's breaking through the ranks, I don't know. I haven't. That name has cropped up to me that would be perfect for that role. There was
Declan Rice.
They're not with us anyway. Exactly, there was one, but they've defected, and
the thing is,
the interesting thing about the lad, I mean, Whelan actually was the one who was stayed on for a duration last night, which says something about the esteem which he's held by McCarthy, or how important
he has been good.
He took off Hourihane, and interestingly, Conor Hourihane had Villa actually in the playoff final, and at certain times he actually was the more withdrawn player for Villa, because they had Grealish and John McGinn ahead of them. So within that club, within that setup, he's the more withdrawn player. I think it was Keith Andrews spoke last week about actually how he's had to adjust to that, and it shows he can be adaptable. Whether he can actually do that for Ireland, I'm not so sure. I mean, as sort of Stephen alludes to, it would need a lot of work with those players over a period of time together. I mean, it's clear he really likes Josh Cullen, but Josh Cullen, again, we haven't probably seen a huge amount of Josh Cullen. He's definitely a deep line player, but he's more of a deep line sort of playmaker, rather than necessarily being someone that you think is going to be when you play Switzerland away, or even Switzerland, Denmark at home. But we don't know enough about him really, and we need to give him time. But by speaking to people, I'm not sure if that's his style. He's more of a dominate the ball type of player, But it's a bit of a dilemma. It is a bit of a dilemma. If you'd say to me now, will Glenn Whelan start the remaining games against Switzerland and Denmark and Georgia, I would say there's a very good chance he does. The only obstacle to that would be if James McCarthy came back and got going.
The other thing as well is, Stephen will probably agree with me on this, it's fairly easy to set up away from home in a sense. When you're playing at home against the likes of Denmark, when we played them in the World Cup qualifier and we were absolutely hockeyed because we played an expansive game, this is going to be a big challenge. We're probably, that DNA that we were talking about earlier, our character and spirit and our defensive sort of way we play, that's much better suited to playing Denmark away from home. So when you're at home and there's an onus on you to kind of do something going forward, you're thinking at home we have a chance of winning this game. This will be the same against the Swiss. We're going to have a real challenge here, because again, we are going to be under the cosh in that we just don't have the players to keep the ball like Denmark have. But because of that sort of, we're at home, we'll have this narrative of we got to be on the front foot here. And it's going to be a real challenge for the likes of Whelan in those games where we're playing at home against superior opposition, how we set up, because I would argue that we should probably still be conservative in these games because we just don't have the players to play an expansive game. If we play expansive against Denmark and Switzerland at home, 100% they're going to catch us on the break and they're going to expose the lines that
so
they
you want
exposed last night.
Ireland to be conservative now?
With this, but with this team,
I just can't keep up with what you want from this Irish team. You're going to slaughter them if they're conservative.
Dan, this particular Irish team, the talent that we have or the talent that we don't have.
There's players in this Irish team that can play football. Like there are.
Could
players.
we do much better than last night?
Oh yeah.
You think? Yeah.
There's definitely players in that group that can take the ball and keep the ball better. We've seen some of those players do it at times for their clubs.
I was just about to bring it up. Like, namely, we're talking about the Euro 2016 contingent and the two players, Jeff Hendrick and Robbie Brady. Like, are we talking about these players? And there's a text in here from Mike in Galway saying poor midfield, Hendrick and Brady overrated. Doherty should be in Brady's place, which we'll come back to in a moment. And Dinny in Cork says, can you ask the lads to give their assessment of where Jeff Hendrick is at with Ireland? I thought he was absent again last night and was at fault for not closing down the cross for the Danish goal.
Johnny thought he was superb. He can deal with that one.
For the cross, I don't think you can blame him too much for that because of that wasn't his position, in fairness. And I'd have to look back in the goal again, but. I've never really seen it from Hendrick at club or I don't really see it as a player in terms of the technical quality. I thought he worked his absolute socks off last night in a team that was totally under the cosh. Robbie Brady, for me, Robbie Brady's hardly played football this season, and Hendrick's playing for a struggling club where he's probably, I'd say if you rated Hendrick's season, what would he get, like a 6 maybe, so I 100% would have Callum O'Dowda playing. I couldn't believe he didn't bring him off the bench. Now, in fairness, Judge coming on was a good move. If we're talking about the players that are vulnerable, James McLean to me is pretty lucky to be on this team. O'Dowda can feel very unfortunate that he's not playing. Robbie Brady was disappointing. I thought he was taken off. Hourihane definitely has to play better. But I don't know. I mean, if you compare that Denmark quality, they're playing for Dortmund, playing for Ajax, they're playing for Tottenham, one of the most sought after players in the world at the moment. And then you have a lad, at Burnley, a lad at 2 championship sides, one let go. Brady hasn't played all season. McLean is bang average.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And then you have McGoldrick up front who basically was fairly isolated. And I think I was looking at the ratings today, he got 5 out of 10, which I thought was very harsh in one of the papers.
Very harsh.
Very harsh because he did a tough job. We don't really have the players.
I wouldn't be. I don't know. I think we're in danger of overrating Denmark a bit too. To be fair, I mean, you can go down the road of who plays such and such plays for that club and plays for that club. I mean, Braithwaite caused plenty of problems. He was Middlesbrough. He was on loan from Middlesbrough last year. If we still have players who are playing. If you're playing bottom half Premier League and top end Championship, that's still a good level of football to be playing at. So I wouldn't be too. I think we've put them on a pedestal. They have one of the best players in the world, and that's obviously a massive thing. The best player in the group. There's no doubting that. But I still think the Irish team, if the players there probably played to the maximum of their ability, they're very capable of doing well in this group. I
think that is a positive actually, that when you look at last night's game, you probably pick out a few players that didn't play as well as we know they're probably capable of. So if they improve and are better in better games, then we should be in a better position to be more comfortable, because if you have 3 or 4 players before in an Irish team, and always in an Irish team, if you have 3 or 4 players that you don't feel are as high level as what they're capable of, then that does affect us. But we still came away with results, we still came away with draws. So if those players can up the game and get more game time at club and just produce a little bit more, then we should be in a position where we're better effective in keeping the ball and being a better unit, I think.
As well as that, the Gibraltar game does offer an opportunity. I mean, if I were picking the team against Gibraltar, I'd probably start both Doherty and O'Dowda, and I'd change the 2 wingers, because you can obviously.
I'd love to see you get a stab at picking the team for Gibraltar. It'd be interesting.
Go for it. Pick your team for Gibraltar.
I'd say in back 5. I'd play O'Dowda on the left, and I'd probably play Doherty on the right. Midfield, at the moment, I don't know. Could you make much of a change there? Up front, I'd have McGoldrick.
So 2 changes: McLean and Brady out. And
I don't rate James McLean at all. I think he's bang average. He's no trick at all. He just takes on the defender, and the defender blocks the ball. Should have done better with the chance he had, I thought. It was actually going wide as well. He's carved out a great career, brilliant spirit. But Callum O'Dowda is a player of proper technical quality, and he deserves. I think Dan likes him as well. He definitely deserves to get more of a look in, I think.
And I like O'Dowda's a talented player. He's probably more likely to play off the right, so cutting inside.
in terms of the
the way things might naturally go, I would have thought he might play more football on the right than he would for the left, on the left side. But no, obviously, I've seen him play for Bristol City. He's very good. I still think, there's no doubting, McLean is not technically gifted. There's no disputing that at all. But I still think, it's no coincidence that managers at the clubs and with country that they keep picking him, because he offers something to a team. He's still going in the 94th minute.
Yeah.
I think people spoke before. I think it was Gary. That McCarthy likes his team. He likes them to be fit as well. And he was still going at the end. And actually, you talk about Brady. I think he, to a degree, he maybe even he hasn't played football. He probably got a bit fatigued. O'Dowda hasn't played a game of football since March. Since the beginning of March.
Yeah.
He's been injured, and there's a dispute over whether he was in dispute with his club. So he hasn't played in 2.5, 3 months. So, ability-wise, you can see why he'd be in there, but I can also see why sharpness-wise he wasn't.
I thought he'd come off the bench. I'm not saying I would have started.
I probably thought he would have too, but I'm just saying that I know why McLean can be frustrating, but he clearly has qualities there that managers keep recognising, and they need to balance that out against maybe some of the more
we did a podcast with
players that they have elsewhere.
Dan and I have a podcast. We had Greg Bulger on there at the start of the season. Greg Bulger said when he moved from Cork City to Shamrock Rovers, because of the style of football that Cork were playing, which is very direct, he said in the first season he was at Shamrock Rovers, he literally couldn't get to the passing level that was required of a Shamrock Rovers midfielder because he was so used to playing a certain way. This Ireland team, going into this group where there are really 6 meaningful games, you're not going to turn them into a team of total football overnight. You just don't have that chance. You don't. Mick McCarthy has one go at this as well, so he has to be pragmatic. But I do think, thinking down the line, Kenny will already be... Stephen Kenny would not have enjoyed the way Ireland played last night, 100%. Now, whether he could have done any better with that set of players, I don't know.
Stephen, can I just get your take before we hear some more reaction from last night on that idea of those 2 changes for Gibraltar? I'm not sure if you've got anything in mind in terms of something that Mick McCarthy should try out for Monday night.
Yeah, I don't think he'll play a 5 in midfield.
No.
I think that would be way too conservative against Gibraltar at home. We didn't do it away from home against Gibraltar. I certainly can't do it at home. We'll definitely be a 4 with maybe someone behind the front man as a number 10 and then a striker, because he could play 2 up front, but I would think more than likely he's probably going to play someone behind McGoldrick.
Could that be O'Dowda, Stephen?
Yeah, I think that could be O'Dowda. That could be O'Dowda. That would suit him, especially for someone that's lacking game time. It'd be a good position for him to try him out there. This is a good game to try because he is creative. He's got a lovely left foot. He picks a pass well. He goes forward well. He drifts past players. So that would be an opportunity to try him in that position. If you're looking to have a player that can create things and a Wes Hourihane replacement type, I think Colin Millett could be that, and that position for him could be nice. And against Gibraltar, there's an opportunity there. It's like having a friendly. We know you think we know we're going to win the game. It should be 2 or 3 minimum we should score. So by playing players that you're not guaranteed to start them in the game, this is an opportunity to see what they can do, because if you need a bit of spark, a bit of creativity in a match where against Switzerland or Denmark where you're down in a game, seeing what they can do in this game is a great opportunity for them.
What knock-on impact does that have, O'Dowda at 10, on the rest of the team?
O'Dowda at the 10?
Yeah.
Well, you're going. I think if you play O'Dowda as a 10, you have Hendrick and Hourihane behind them, 2 midfielders, which are good in the ball, and Connor especially will be able to find him in that space, which I think is, and especially against Gibraltar, we should be, like I said, we're going to be more creative in front of the ball. And then on the left, you think he's going to start with James because he's industrious, he gets something down, and I know he's one-dimensional, which is a fault to his, but the strength to his, because as much as he constantly wants to go down the line, he constantly wants to go on the left foot, he constantly wants to get the cross in. As a fullback, he's kind of enjoyable to play against, personally, because you show him, but on the other side of that if I'm a fullback running back, he's not going to let me go. I know for a fact that if I'm running 70 yards down the line, James McLean's going to be hot on my heels trying to distract me, so you have to give him his credit where it's due. Overall, I just think we need to be as creative as we possibly can. Doherty you would think will come in on the right, because with Judge breaking his wrist, I'm not sure he's going to be able to play. And you think
he'll start, Stephen?
I think he might start him. Yeah, I think it's an opportunity to play him. It's a home. It's a different game to what it was Gibraltar away.
I'm just not sure though, Stephen. I think he seems to have more or less written off the prospect of the 2 of them playing on the right.
I don't think he likes it. I don't think. Let's face it. We're saying would he judge him on the basis of that game, and they tried to say no one was going to be judged on the Gibraltar match because of the conditions and everything, but he judged him and he didn't play him the next match straight away, and he took him off. So he has judged them. He thinks that for me, I think they are very similar. They're so similar. Seamus and Matt Doherty are such similar players. They both are very good running forward into space, overlapping, timing the runs into the box. They both do that extremely well. So they have a similar mentality. So they occupy the same place, whereas the thought process behind playing Brady there is that Brady wants to come inside on his left foot, wants to create space. And as a right foot player, as a fullback, I used to love when I had Damien in front of me, he would come inside all the time and I would always get past him. And that would, for a lot of time, he probably wouldn't use me, so I'd be cursing at him for not giving me the ball. But by me going past him, I'd create a space for him to go inside, or if they didn't track, if they went with him, then I'd create space for him to reverse the ball to me. So having an opposite-footed winger on the right side makes sense, and especially with someone like Sheahan who does like to get forward. It's a very hard call. It's a very hard call, and it's something that we could talk about all day when it comes to this, Matt Doherty. On paper, he should be in the team. He should be in the team. He's Irish best performer in the Premiership all season. So if you have a player that we're restricted and we don't have the talent pool that we've had over the years, and we have a player that's been a standout performer in the Premiership all season, he should 100% be in our team. But he's not, because he doesn't fit into the system we play, and it's unfortunate for him, and he must be gutted. But would you play him ahead of Seamus Coleman right back? I don't think I would. Not at this stage. Would you play him right wing? I think there's an opportunity there, and with the way Robbie played last night, there's a shout out that should be the possibility.
Yeah, as well as that, that's you're kind of blaming Hendrick a bit for the goal or whatever. Whoever was blaming Hendrick for the goal. Ireland, those games against so we've 3 games left against the top 2 teams in the group. To have Doherty on the right wing with Coleman means that you have a lot of good defensive cover for a team that's going to be under the cosh, and that shouldn't be underestimated. So that situation for the goal, I don't think, Stephen, happens with Doherty in the team.
I've made this point before. I said in these games, like I said, in the Denmark-Switzerland game, Georgia game, and we're holding on to a lead or something, it's a great option to have 2 defensive-minded players on that right side. If we are holding on to something or we're within touching distance of qualifying and we need to keep it a game, you can't underestimate that. That's often happen where you play someone in front of someone that you see it often so as Chrissy said there, I'm not too sure that's worked as well, but Doherty in front of Seamus will definitely offer a defensive stability, and you're basically mirroring what James McLean does on the left hand side, as in his ability to get back and defend and want to track runners. Doherty will naturally do that because he's defensively minded. As much as he is attack minded, he wants to cover and get around as well. So that in a situation where we're under the cosh or where we're playing against a better side at keeping the ball will definitely give us that a much more stable setup. But for going forward, it's just because they're so similar that's the issue I think Mick has, and what probably a lot of people would have with playing them together.
Yeah, it certainly seems that way. It's going to be a fascinating team sheet come Monday night if he's going to experiment. What does he do? Because I think some people might have been surprised to see Alan Judge come off the bench last night, and there might have been Matt Doherty might have come on in that situation.
Yeah, but he's loved Alan Judge for years, and you talk about maybe someone we obviously talk about where players play, and it's so correct. How can you not have someone that's at the top end of Premier League season, has been one of the top performers and not involved. But obviously Mick felt he needed a particular type of player on the pitch at that time, and Alan Judge has qualities that maybe other people in the squad don't have, and regardless of what level he's played at. But before Alan Judge got injured, got that really serious leg break, ironically against an Ipswich team managed by Mick McCarthy 2 months before year 2016. And Alan Judge was one of the top players in the Championship. Was about to join a Premier League club that summer, and almost like a late blooming sort of playmaker type player, almost very comparable with Wes Hoolahan in terms of his story. So he's clearly high up his thinking. He's always mentioned them, and I think he's someone, presumably that this setback isn't that serious. He's someone that he probably might be looking at as a sort of a game breaker at times come the autumn. In terms of Monday, I wouldn't be surprised at all if Josh Cullen was involved at some stage. Maybe not from the start. I think as Stephen alludes to, maybe it might be Hendrick and Hourihane. I think there's probably no chance Glenn Whelan will be involved on Monday. There's no need really in this situation. I think Cullen is the one that could surprise, and I wouldn't be shocked if Callum Robinson was involved at some stage on Monday too. He's another one that I think he seems to quite like, And I mean, if you're going to be a bit more dominant in the game, he could maybe even play as that 10, or off the right side either.
A couple of people in touch actually, just to get behind that idea. Darren Hennessy on Twitter says, lads, what do you make of McLean? Thought he didn't offer a whole pie last night. Surely O'Dowda or Callum Robinson should play ahead of him. And somebody else has been in touch saying Callum Robinson, superb all season at Preston, deserves a chance against Gibraltar. Right, let's hear some more reaction from last night. Nathan has been in conversation with Conor Hourihane.
In such a short, tight qualification campaign, how big a goal does that feel like at the end from Shane Duffy?
Yeah, massive. Great point. Tough night out there. They're a good side, but delighted to come away from a point, that's for sure.
Yeah, Mick McCarthy spoke a lot over the last couple of months, I think, about coming to this game and being aggressive and not sitting back and letting them have the ball. Yeah. Do you feel you delivered on that out there?
Yeah, I think we had a go when we could. Listen, we knew when out there that they'd have a lot of the ball. They've got technically very good players, but I felt we had a go, at the right times. It wasn't like it was backs against the wall for 90 minutes or anything. So, I think maybe we had a chance to score on a couple of occasions before we got the actual goal as well. So, listen, delighted to get a point and on to Monday now.
How difficult is it going up against that Danish midfield when it's so easy to just focus on Christian Eriksen and ensure he doesn't get any space, and you've still got other quality players like Thomas Delaney? Is it one of the more difficult teams to play against?
Yeah, definitely. Listen, they've got good technical players. They pass the ball around very well. We wanted to try maybe and stop the supply into Christian Eriksen before he kind of got on it. It's easier said than done. Like I said, they've got some good players. They come off the line very well. But listen, we felt like we dealt with it okay at times, and just delighted to get a point.
They had a lot to say before the game about Ireland's style of play and that they were annoying to play against, that you can change the manager but you can't change the players. Was that a motivating factor? I know you're going to say you put on the green jersey, you don't need extra motivation, but was that something you actually did speak about in the dressing room?
Listen, it got mentioned a couple of times, all right. We've played against each other over the last few years. I do feel like they probably don't like playing against us. We're not too bothered whoever we play against. But yeah, listen, we probably heard what they said, all right, and what did get said a couple of times. Whether it gave lads extra motivation or not, that's up to the individual.
Yeah. You had given that chance for Shane Duffy in the first half. I think it was a sort of acrobatic effort in the end. Just how good is he at set pieces from someone who takes the free kicks? Like how big an asset is he, knowing that the sort of chaos he seems to cause in an opposition defence?
Yeah, he tacks the ball very, very well, in both boxes, especially the attacking set pieces. Like you said, maybe he could have got on the end of the first one in the first half, but he stuck at his task and delivered with a great header late on.
Yeah. You must be loving this, knowing that you're pretty much first choice in Mick McCarthy's plans at the moment.
No, listen, I'm not sure. Listen, I feel there's always room for improvement for myself. Never comfortable, always looking to improve, and just delighted to be a part of it.
And back home now on Monday night to take on Gibraltar. Should be a very different game from the wind over in Gibraltar back in March, and the sort of game you'd expect to actually go and dominate and show your skills and show your talent in possession of the ball.
Yeah, hopefully so. Listen, we have to be professional. Can't take anything for granted. But like you said, hopefully we'll dominate the ball, and like you said, maybe have a little bit more ball than we had tonight, and hopefully get the right result.
Well,
Conor Hourihane there speaking to Nathan in Copenhagen last night. Ashley Barty is one game away from winning the French Open. She's 5-3 up in the second set after taking the first 6-1 in the GAA. Then Offaly beat London earlier on 121-111 in the qualifiers. Leitrim are currently 15 points to 13 up against Wicklow at Park Sean McDermott. That is in the dying stages there. We'll bring you a full roundup right after these.
Off the ball on News Talk. Full steam.
Does gender balance in the workplace make business sense, or is it just box ticking?
Boards and companies with better gender diversity do better. They're more sustainable, they've higher revenue growth, higher profitability, and it reflects society.
Hear the full interview with Anne O'Leary, CEO of Vodafone Ireland, in the first part of our new series looking at women in tech.
Full steam with Jess Kelly.
Brought to you by Work Human.
Saturday evening at 7 and again Sunday evening at 8.
On News Talk.
Exciting afternoons with Harvey Norman. Bring the cinema home with an ultra-high-definition smart TV and surround sound from Harvey Norman. The cinema experience with no queues and no trailers.
Go, Harvey, go! You ready? A.
Big A or small A?
Big A, B, C.
Big or small?
Big B, small c.
Is the next one D?
No, it's not. I'm not stupid. Big F, small z. One of those squirrely things that looks like...
No, you'll have to start again.
A, B...
With Vodafone's Guest Wi-Fi feature, you can connect your family and friends with ease. Now available with Vodafone Gigabit Broadband Superfast Fibre direct to the home. Vodafone. The future's exciting. Ready?
Subject to availability in selected areas. T's and C's apply. See Vodafone.ie.
I had to find the answer. Sure, I was being intense. Once I got the data, cross-referenced every offer with title patterns, I could...
Wait, are you thinking about car insurance again? I keep telling you, I went to 123.ie and saved 10%. No hassle.
Oh, wow. Why are my eyes so dry?
You haven't blinked in 3 minutes.
Simple is smarter. Get 10% off new car insurance when you buy online at 123.ie. Acceptance criteria, T's and C's apply. 123 Money Limited trading as 123.ie is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland. RSA Insurance Ireland Act provides 123.ie car insurance.
Being a victim of crime can be shattering. If you're a victim or have been affected by crime, the Crime Victims Helpline is here for you. Call freephone 116 006. We can listen and provide support. We can answer questions about the criminal justice system. Crime Victims Helpline. Call us on freephone 116 006.
I'm home, love. I've got a surprise for you.
Oh, that's nice.
Look out the window.
Okay.
Ta-da!
What on earth is that?
It's a mobile home. You said you always wanted one.
Mobile phone. I wanted a mobile phone.
Oh, all right. I've sold the house now.
Should have gone to Specsavers for rechargeable hearing aids from €1,000 with PRSI, funded by the Department of Employment Affairs and Social Protection. Ask in store for details.
The Ultimate Food Lovers Festival is back. Taste of Dublin returns to the Ivy Gardens from the 13th to the 16th of June, celebrating the revolution of modern Irish food with over 20 restaurants, 30 top chefs, 160 interactive masterclasses, delectable drinks and live entertainment. Taste of Dublin, inspired by Neff. Book now. Tickets from €15 at tasteofdublin.ie. Booking fees apply.
Proudly supported by News Talk.
Good price, but the APR...
Zero.
The deposit, though,
Zero.
I understand, but...
Zero.
Okay, it's an incredible deal. Just please stop doing that.
Okay. Zero. The 192 Renault range. 0% APR, 0 deposit, 0 catches. Visit your local Renault dealer today. Finance is made under a hire purchase agreement. Terms and conditions apply, subject to lending criteria. See Renault.ie.
Treat yourself to summer offers this week at Dunnes Stores. Pick up your favourites. Cadbury Milk Tray and Cadbury Heroes and Rose's cartons, all for just half price. And you can save even more with our 10 off 50 grocery voucher. Dunnes Stores. Always better value. See online for terms and conditions. Minimum spend required.
Link Finance was fantastic. It took all the hard work out of business loans. It's online, it's fast, it's very straightforward. It really is the future of business lending in Ireland.
Paul Cummins from leading safety consultancy Sea Change is among thousands of ambitious Irish business leaders who now use linked finance to fuel their plans for expansion. Our game-changing approach means easy applications, quick decisions, dedicated account managers and business loans of up to €300,000 in just 24 hours. Unleash your ambition. Apply now at linkedfinance.com.
It's back! The Harvey Norman Big Sale with big savings on home appliances like the Zanussi 8kg washing machine for just €319, saving you €45. Or get the large capacity 9kg Candy washing machine for just €269, saving you €110. So for the biggest savings this summer, shop the Harvey Norman Big Sale in store and online.
Go, Harvey, go!
When your summer sounds like this, instead of this, you need to find a way to escape the misery of hay fever. New Nasacort Nasal Spray is a unique once-a-day hay fever treatment whose special formula stays where it's sprayed, providing effective relief from congestion, sneezing, and an itchy, runny nose. Start each summer's day the Nasacort way, and you could be on a path to your perfect summer. Ask your pharmacist for details. Contains triamcinolone acetonide. Always read the label.
Off the ball. This is News Talk.
Ashley Barty has won her first ever major in tennis. She's the French Open champion after beating Marketa Vondrousova, on a 6-1, 6-3 scoreline. Hammered her in the first set. Vondrousova came back well in the second set. Almost held her serve there at the end to get it back to 5-4. But Barty was just too strong in the end, hammering home the final point. The 8th seed, as I say, winning her first Grand Slam title at Roland Garros. Now to tell you what's going on in Gaelic games. A couple of the lower tier games in hurling have finished up and we'll get to those scores in just a moment. Before all that, I want to get to Kingspan Breffni Park because Maura Trassa Callig is standing by for Tyrone Donegal. How are you, Maura Trassa?
I'm good, Owen. I'm here in the sunshine. We're bathed in the sunshine here in Kingsbarn Breffni. And of course, anyone who knows me well enough by now knows if I'm here, it means it's going to rain at some point. But hopefully not during the 70 minutes of a game that everyone's been predicting is either going to be a dirge or a classic, depending on which way these two teams line out. Now, we have had the usual bits of late changes. We have 2 for Donegal. We have Niall O'Donnell in for Dara O'Bweel. And Eoin McHugh of Kilcar is in for Kieran Thompson, who was apparently supposed to arrive here via helicopter from Glenties. His brother is getting married today, and apparently Kieran Thompson was supposed to be at the church and then be helicoptered in. But at the moment, unless he makes a late arrival in a tuxedo, we're not going to see him. But incidentally, one Donegal man who is here is Seamus Coleman, fresh from last night. He's here in the crowd somewhere supporting his team. Tyrone have 3 changes. We have Brian Kennedy in for Michael Cassidy. We have Kieran McGeary in for Niall Sludden. And we have Liam Rafferty in for Conor McAlliskey. And I was speaking to a Tyrone gentleman here a few minutes ago, and he said Liam Rafferty in, he's normally a cornerback or a halfback, and he was saying that means that perhaps Mickey Hart is thinking of going rather defensive, which might be a bit of a disappointment to people here who might be expecting a classic. But we could be wrong. I've been known to be wrong a few times, Owen.
When it comes to the preview in this, everybody's looking at that encounter they had in Ballybofey last year, Maura Trassa, as what was a really, really good game, but it was something that showed that Tyrone had a stronger bench. They had more strength in numbers. The first time we'd seen that in a couple of years from Tyrone. A couple of players have stepped away from the panel though this year, and these youngsters that Donegal have up front have got a year older. So is that going to be enough to turn the tables, do you reckon?
That's something that everyone is really looking forward to see, because it was evident in that game in Ballybofey that last year that Donegal were just as good as Tyrone. It's just at the last few minutes they just kind of ran out of puff, and Tyrone just had the more experienced heads and probably the more experienced legs to just come through those last few minutes. I'm not sure that's going to happen today, and funnily enough, when you're talking to people here and when you're reading through the papers the last few days, the predictions are all split 50-50 between Donegal and Tyrone, depending what part I suppose you're from. Some people are going for Donegal, some people are going for Tyrone. The big factor is going to be, I think, those last few minutes and the substitutes, because there was talk that we've seen Oisín Gallen. He is supposed to be injured, but he's rumoured very strongly to come in today for Donegal. And of course, Donegal have Paddy McBrearty as well, which is going to be a big thing. On the other hand, Niall Sludden being subbed for Tyrone means perhaps that Mickey Hart is waiting to put the after boosters on at some point. So trying to predict who's going to come out on top, is it going to be the bit more of experience, the fact that Donegal now have that extra year under their belt, and they had a hard league as well and managed to win themselves back up again to Division 1. So to give you a roundabout sitting on the fence answer, I don't know who's going to come out on top, but we're all really hoping that it will be the game that it promises, and it won't go into a defensive battle all being fought out, you know, between lateral passing and parallel passing back and forth. Donegal definitely will want it to be more open. Their forwards seem to like it, but on the other hand, what Donegal, speaking of hands, the red hand they've always had as footballers, they have players comfortable on the ball, they're good off the left and the right, and they can generally be counted on to do the right thing when they're under pressure. And we don't know yet if Donegal are at that stage yet, just because they are that little bit younger. So today will tell a lot for both sides, because at the end of the day, whoever wins here today, and even who loses, they're still probably going to be around at the business end of things in a few weeks' time.
Yeah, it certainly seems that way. It's been a cracking Ulster Championship so far, and hopefully it continues this evening. We'll chat to you at half time, Maura Trassa. Enjoy the game.
Great, Owen, thank you.
Sticking with football just for the time being, just 2 full-time scores so far. Offaly beat London by 10 points, 121 to 111 at O'Connor Park in round 1 of the qualifiers earlier on. And then the other game that was on early has now finished as well. Leitrim are through to round 2. They've beaten Wicklow on a 15 points to 13 scoreline. Just 2 moments ago then, Wexford against Derry threw in at Innovate Wexford Park, and there's yet to be a score there. Louth against Antrim is the other game in the qualifiers. It throws in at 7 o'clock this evening. In the hurling then, you've got a big game in Leinster and a big game in Munster. For one side anyway, Cork need to get the job done against Waterford at 7 o'clock at Páirc Uí Chaoimh, and then at Innovate Wexford Park, Wexford will be hoping to live up to their billing there as favourites as they take on Carlow also at 7 o'clock. Full-time scores, as I mentioned there a moment ago, in all the lower tier hurling games as well. Let's go through them. In Joe McDonough in round 4, we've got Antrim 21 points, Westmeath 29. Laois won well in Austin Stack Park against Kerry. 5-17 to 121 was the full-time score there. It was semi-finals day in the Christy Ring Cup. Meath are through to the final. They beat Derry on a 324 to 218 scoreline. Down beat Roscommon 318 to 115 in Inishkeen. In the relegation playoff then in the Christy Ring Cup, London beat Donegal 218 to 114. And then in the Nicky Rackard, it was also a semi-final there between Armagh and Tyrone. Armagh progressing to the final. They won on a 219 to 120 scoreline, also in Inniskeen. There was a relegation playoff there in the same competition. Monaghan beating Louth 417 to 220. And then finally, the Laurie Maher Cup, it was round 3, and Leitrim beat Fermanagh 218 to 116, and Lancashire hammered Cavan 126 to 1-7. Right, Dan McDonnell, Johnny Ward and Stephen Kelly are still with us for the final 10 minutes of our football chat, and we've left the best to last. It is Johnny's hot take, as we brought to you earlier on. The Stephen Kenny era, you're already seeing signs that there's going to be a big upheaval when he takes the senior job.
Well, I think there are a couple of things. Basically, some of our key players are definitely getting on. So Coleman's going to be 32 next year, which is pretty old for a right back. A player whose career has, a lot of which has been very much based on his pace, which is probably a little bit on the wane anyway, which is understandable after the injury, and also the fact that he's getting on. McGoldrick I think he's already 31. He'll be 32 next year. I'd imagine that Keogh won't be a regular starter beyond this campaign. How he decides in that midfield, Dan was speaking off air about how he kind of launched James McLean's career. He did, but James McLean is lucky to be playing for Ireland at the moment. You know, there are more talented players out there. As I said, McGoldrick, I think, would be vulnerable. I believe Obafemi could be quite promising. The bits I've seen, I think we have a bit of a blank canvas there with him. Kenny as well. He's coming through a team that he's gonna have a lot of games with these under-21s, between Toulon and the actual qualifiers, from the Luxembourg game to the games against Italy and the good teams later on in the group. The way he's spoken about some of these players, I'd be interested to know what Dan makes the particularly high kind of calibre under-21 players. The likes of Conor Ronan, Malumbi's very, very well regarded. Adam Ida seems to be scoring goals for absolute fun. Now, these are players that have to cut it at club level first. But
some of them are under 19 players.
Yeah.
You know, that's the thing. Like,
Troy Parrott isn't probably a million miles off getting a professional start as well. But in terms, a lot of these, like Kenny will have a philosophy that he'll want with this team. How many of them players will fit that philosophy, I'm not sure. But just by the process of them getting older, I think a lot of them players will be vulnerable. And if you had a different manager right now, Doherty would be playing, and O'Dowda would be playing. They're two players off the top of my head.
O'Dowda's just been injured, John.
Yeah.
O'Dowda hasn't been left out.
But he would have come off the bench at least last night. So
McCarthy really rates Callum O'Dowda.
Yeah, absolutely. But so if O'Dowda gets fit, I think.
Who else is vulnerable in these wide scale changes you're predicting?
I would
15 months.
15 months is a long time.
15 months
for lads that are in their late 30s.
Who else is on the way out?
Coleman will be vulnerable at that stage when he'll be 32. He like a lot of people would start Doherty over him. I'd say Kenny will probably start Doherty over Coleman, and that's just a hunch. McGoldrick, Whelan will be retired by then. Would you say Hendrick is guaranteed his place?
Yeah.
Definitely.
I would say
I don't think McLean is guaranteed his place. Stevens will probably play. Keogh won't play. It'll be interesting to see. Obviously,
it's not really a revolution. Then it's just people getting older.
I think he'll promote a lot of the 21s into the reckoning, definitely.
See, I think a lot of that will depend, Johnny, on
club level.
Yeah, I think in 15 months is a long time for some of those lads who haven't played first team at all. That 21s team is very promising, but the interesting with the 21s team actually is that there's 5 or 6 under 19s in it. So where they're going to be in 15 months' time, it's questionable. I think actually just Conor Coventry, ironically English-born midfielder at West Ham, very promising. Jason Malumbi at Brighton, very promising. But I mean, they're at game time. I mean, Malumbi was on the bench for Brighton once towards the end of the season, and Coventry was involved, I think, in the League Cup or whatever it's called now. And he's got Declan Rice ahead of him, at club level. So where these lads are going to be at, and I still think that as much as Stephen Kenny's going to want a particular philosophy, Stephen Kenny's going to be judged on his results very, very quickly. There's going to be, he's coming into actually going to start off in a Nations League campaign. We're at a slightly lower level because we got relegated from that group, and I'm not sure if that level of understanding is going to be there. Maybe we'll see. It's very hypothetical. You don't know what we've done, in the intervening period. But I'm not sure if he's necessarily going to make massive changes initially. That would be a really, really big gamble when you've got to sort of prove something still. And I think he actually would probably like to work with some of the ball players that are there, as we mentioned earlier. I'd be loath to predict. I think he will definitely there'll be some interesting squad selections, but in terms of like your first 11 or first sort of 13, 14, 15 players being dramatically different in that time frame, I wouldn't be so sure.
I don't think we can have a cull. Like, as much as he could come in and want to change everything, we just don't have the players playing for a club that we could cull. I mean, a whole team, like, it's not possible. He's going to have to work with what he has, and if those players from the 21s haven't stepped up to senior level for the clubs, he can't be just throwing them into senior international football. That's not possible. Like when I was playing 21s, I was playing for my club. That's a difference to what it is now. Like, I'd already played for 3 different teams in the league on loan, and then I was breaking into the Tottenham first team when I was playing 21s for Ireland. That's the difference between now and then. Like, those players, their clubs are reluctant to let them go on loan, which is terrible, because that's where they're going to. If they're at a big club, they need to go and play football at some level to try and progress their career. And waiting for the opportunity at a top club is sometimes a long wait. So they need to get senior football if they want to progress and move on. And for Stephen Kenny, he can't rely on those players, because there's no way, and he's not going to be able to have so much of an influence on them that he's going to be able to progress them, because he only gets them for 2 weeks every so often. He's not going to be able to guide those players up to the next level. They're going to be guided by their club on how they get there. And like I said, if he comes into the senior international team, the players that will go away from the squad from being retired or moving on through age, that's one thing. There's not going to be wholesale changes in that squad unless those players decide to retire. I can't see it unless there's a dramatic change in how things have gone in the next 15 months. But
Stephen Kelly, thanks a million for joining us this afternoon. Appreciate it.
Thanks, lads. Cheers. Sorry for cutting across you there.
Not at all. Great stuff there from Stephen Kelly on the line with us since 3 o'clock. Just a final point, I guess.
It was good for him to cut across there. Just add something to the debate there. You
can see the likes of McElhenney coming into the squad as well, because again, a total Stephen Kenny player. Loved him at Dundalk. How he'll be to the League of Ireland, that'll be interesting as well, because certainly people in the League of Ireland, there's always that hope that at least there is recognition.
I don't think he'll be afraid to pick a player if he thinks he's good enough, but I think there's a difference between that and picking someone just to pick them because they play there. I think that's the thing. I mean, with his 21s, like he's got 7 or 8 players around the squad, which I think is about right in terms of merit and where they're at. But I mean, in the starting team the other day, there's 2 or 3. So like he'll pick the best players where he thinks the best players are. Like, someone like Conor Ronan would be his type of player, who's been on. People maybe might be familiar with Conor Ronan, plays for Wolves. He's been on loan in Slovakia for the last 6 months. Ironically, probably didn't set the world alight when he had lower league stints in England, and is maybe more suited to a European style. And this is something that Kenny, as Dundalk manager, spoke about, that we can't judge players by how they're regarded in the lower league system in England. And I think that's going to be the most interesting part of his reign, that I think he will pick players according to what he thinks their ability is, rather than necessarily going off where they're playing. But the flip side of that is the players that Ireland have that are able to play at Premier League level and top end the Championship level are pretty much our best players.
Yeah.
Like the fact that they can do that means that they're not suddenly just going to be bumped dramatically down the list. Do you know what I mean? Like, they're not suddenly going to. I think that there has to be a realism about what that will bring. And a lot of it depends on the direction he gets from his employers, of course, as well. Like, maybe if someone comes in, you talk about, and in fairness, I'm sort of contradicting my earlier point about lads in their club situation. If someone is told with confidence that they've got some kind of 4-year plan, and then they maybe will start playing lads at 17, 18, 19 before they've played, like Wales have done, as we've seen it with certain players at certain times. But I think that is very much reliant on that patience and confidence existed. And I think Stephen Kenny, with his background, is still going to have a bit of work to do, as much as we all want it to work.
Absolutely.
I think he's going to have to get good results early on, just to get people inside who might have their scepticism. And with that in mind, then, I don't think you're going to see those drastic changes, because I think it would be way, way too much of a gamble.
I think if anyone has...
Especially if, like, the previous manager that's left is quite popular.
But,
if things have come out.
A year and a half is quite a long time in terms of developing these young players. If you haven't watched the Toulon tournament so far, they've obviously played 2 games. They're playing Bahrain, and then they'll hopefully be into the last 4. just take a look at the togetherness of this team and listen to what the players say after the game. I think this is a special group, and Kenny will have a lot of time with this group.
It's very early.
But I think there's something a little bit special about this group, and they will play a lot of games. They will play a lot of games from Toulon into the qualifiers. They seem to speak very glowingly about him. The dynamic Kenny is enjoying with Keith Andrews as well seems to be very, very positive. And I think this team has a chance of going very close to winning this tournament because they should get out of their group. They've been playing, and this is a crucial point, they've been playing against older teams as well. Basically, they've been playing against, this is a fairly young Irish team, and they've been playing against both Mexico and China would have had older players than the Irish team with the view to the Olympics next year. He's not afraid. From his early days at Longford Town, he brought in young players who were unproven at League of Ireland level, and he's not afraid to bring young talent through. And if I were practically all of the established Irish players, bar a few exceptions, I don't think there are many that are definitely guaranteed their place under Stephen Kenny, apart from a few that you would definitely have on your team sheet. I think he'll be very, very keen to introduce some of the young players with whom he'll have an intimate relationship going forward this year.
It's an interesting take, and I'm definitely looking at that in the positive sense, that is a huge
positive thing, but I think you're expecting a lot in a short space of time. I don't think that's realistic.
With Stephen Kenny, I think it's far from unrealistic to expect a lot, because what he's done at club level with Dundalk has punched miles above his weight.
Owen wants to finish this debate. I just think that in 15 months' time, a lot of our better players will still be the players that are there now at the moment.
Are we like picking a winner on this in 15 months' time? The first Stephen
we have a really
Kenny
good
team sheet, or
the established team for the qualifiers.
Johnny, you're talking about a special group. I think the special group, I think Kenny will do well with them. It's actually the under-19 team at the moment is the one that's the really exciting age group. So they're an under-19 team. So that means they're all 18, 19 years of age. So their peak is like 3, 4, 5 years away. So that's what I think, in terms of and you're working for the FAI, who still need to sell tickets and get results and so on. So the sea change that you're expecting, I'd be just holding off on it a small bit in terms of evolution, in terms of the players we put on the pitch. Just yet, I think gradually, if Kenny gets time, he will introduce them. But at the outset, I wouldn't have thought so.
So on today's show, we've been giving you the chance to win a pair of tickets to the Republic of Ireland's Group D clash with Gibraltar at the Aviva Stadium on Monday evening. We asked you this question earlier on: which English Premier League club did Shane Duffy first join as part of their youth academy? And the answer was, of course, Everton. Congratulations to Patrick McLaughlin in Ballymun, who has won today's pair of tickets. You're heading along with their friends to Gibraltar on Monday night, which, let's hope, is 3 points. We didn't even preview the game, which is probably
we don't need to. Ireland will win.
Ireland will win. We'll be on 10 points, and we've got a full 3 months of hope and glory like we did before the last World Cup. This time it seems a bit more hopeful.
It's bloody mad how close we were to not winning in Gibraltar. Like it really could have happened. And it's 7 points is just a great position to be in.
Yeah.
There's no EasyJet planes going to be distracting the players this time, so that's the huge thing that'll swing this. Listen, Dan and Johnny, thanks a million for coming in today. Enjoyed that. We're going to take a quick break, and then we got the news.
Join the conversation. Text us on 53106. Texts cost 30 cents.
Clean up right now at Experts Electrical on selected Hotpoint washing machines. Get €50 off and 6 months free aerial. Then wash away over 100 stains at just 20 degrees Celsius with Hotpoint's Active Care system. Now